Good evening, everyone. It is Tuesday, April 7th, 5 o'clock. I'll call today's meeting of the Clay County Board of Commissioners to order. The first item on the agenda is an approval of the agenda. I am asking the board for an agenda addition, and we will take up the agenda addition after item 14 before the break.
Move approval with the agenda with the addition.
We have a motion offered to approve the agenda with the addition from Commissioner Campbell.
Second.
A second offered from Commissioner Ebbinger. Any further discussion? Further discussion? Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The agenda carries. Citizens to be heard. Are there any citizens in the audience wishing to address the board on any item not on the agenda? I do have one. Shar, would you like to come to the microphone?
I brought some information.
Okay, if you want to hand it to Sarah, Sarah can hand it to us. Shar, you have 3 minutes to address the board. Make sure that you identify yourself, your address as well, and then direct any comments to me, please.
So, my name is Charlotte Toohey. I live in rural Clay County, and I run a business in just outside of Hawley city limits, a pet boarding, daycare, grooming facility. And it's come to my attention because people ask a lot that there isn't anything currently happening with the stray animals in our county. I included in the handouts an animal control policy that used to be honored by the Clay County law enforcement. However, that isn't happening anymore. There isn't a plan. Current finders are telling me that they're being told you can leave it where you found it. You can and let it fend for itself. You can take it to a shelter anywhere that will accept it, or you can keep it. And of course, leaving a pet outdoors, especially in our winters, it'll likely starve to death, freeze, or get attacked by predators or hit by a car. It's totally inhumane. Our state laws dictate otherwise. They say that all animals are entitled to basic food, water, and shelter. And suggestions to leave it where you found it or put it back out are basically going against our state laws. Keeping a lost pet, well, that's also illegal. It's called theft of property, and it's completely unfair to a family who's searching for their lost pets. Most shelters, and I know this from personal experience, will not accept an animal that is a stray until it's been through an impound system, because that's how they establish that there isn't a legal owner looking for it. So it keeps them out of trouble. And that puts Clay County finders of stray animals in a rock and a hard place, because it's inhumane to do something else with it, but you can't legally turn it over to a shelter because they won't take it, and it's really not legal to keep it. So what are they supposed to do? This last week, April 1st, I was involved in a situation where a German wire-haired pointer it had been watched, observed for weeks as a stray, and finally a Good Samaritan was able to catch him. They tried to find a safe place for him to go. They wanted me to take it in, but I can't. It's not legal for me to do that. And if I were to have taken it in and then found it at home, well, what if somebody's looking for it? The law enforcement representative that she spoke with that night more or less told her no one was going to help her because the dog was not in anyone's jurisdiction, even though the dog was most definitely in Clay County. He also told her Clay County did not renew their stray hold contract and that there was no funding to take care of the stray pets.
Sure, that is 3 minutes, so just
Okay.
final comments.
Okay, so basically, I'm looking for a solution to the problem. So there's more information in the handouts, and okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for addressing the board. This was brought to our attention earlier. You and I had a conversation a few weeks ago about this. Our administrator has talked with the sheriff's department about some ongoing solutions, because I think there was a business in Moorhead that's changed, and so there's a lot of revolving parts about this, but certainly we can follow up when we hear back from the townships and the sheriff's department. Okay, thank you. Any other citizens wishing to address the board? Any other citizens? Steve, we've had online correspondence about the hearing later. Any online correspondence for this issue?
Nothing other than to the public hearing, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is the payment of bills and vouchers.
Madam Chair, I move we approve payment of the bills and vouchers.
Second.
Motion offered from Commissioner Ebinger, second from Commissioner Bear to approve the payment of bills and vouchers. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The bills carry. The minutes were presented from the March 24th, 2026 meeting.
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion offered from Commissioner Krabanoff, a second from Commissioner Bear to approve the minutes as presented. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The item carries. Item 2 today on the agenda is the request approval of Resolution 2026-8 for the Clay County to act as the legal sponsor for the DNR funding for the snowmobile trails. Good evening.
Good evening. So yes, I represent Clay Trail Alliance. It consists of 3 snowmobile clubs in the county, the Angry Dragons out of Hawley, Felton Rough Riders out of Felton, and the Clay County Trailblazers based out of basically Moorhead and Glendon. So we've had this working relationship for many years now, and it's worked out really good, and I always like to give a update when we do this, just because sometimes we do get some newer commissioners and whatnot. So we groom and maintain all the snowmobile trails in Clay County, 180 miles, and we serve, pretty much all the communities. And we are pretty much a self-funded entity. Not many other groups can do that. And so that's based off our registrations and the unrefunded gas tax refunds that we get that the DNR manages for us. So, and the request is, the DNR has to have a sponsor to get the grants to the clubs, and so we're asking for you guys to do that. Last year, of course, was an interesting year, another low snow year, and got some slides up here too. So in total, we did only 790 miles of grooming, and so normally that's thousands of miles. So this was kind of the norm this year, and this was after a snowfall. The beauty of the valley, right? You get an inch of snow and some wind, and our ditches are full, and we can groom. So, this is north of town, and it's just, but we had people out riding. I mean, the entities, the establishments around the area, and people just commenting on Facebook were just like surprised how good it was. Even though it's all the dirt in the field right next to you. So, we had some new trails out by Downer this year that some club members from Hawley found. So. Some very nice scenic trails out that way. Yes, you can get stuck, even with the machine by itself. And then the other picture again is just another, that's out by Sabin somewhere, and where the fields were a tough situation this year. This is 18, or that's up by on 34, I guess, on the left picture. And some areas we can double groom it wide, so those tend to stay nice because they blow off. So. Nice picture there. That again's out by the Downer area. This is up by Hitterdal, and you can see that fields are our challenges, obviously. That was pretty much the norm, what you see in the right there for this year, but yeah, that's what we're doing for the county, basically, and we would ask for your approval for that again.
Thank you for the presentation, Greg. Commissioner Krabanoff has a question.
Question, of the 180 miles, is it all continuous, or is it loops here and there?
Pretty much all loops now, yes.
Okay.
We've got we had a dead-end trail going into Downer. I don't know if we're gonna keep that one or not now, because we adjusted the trail. When it went from Barnesville to Hawley, it just basically went up County 31 and zigzagged off the trail here and there.
Yeah.
Now we scooted over into Downer and back to Hawley then now, so we had one coming from north by the landfill that would come almost straight down. So we might take that one away now. I don't know. We'll see. So, but yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner Campbell?
Yeah, thanks, Greg. You mentioned that you had a couple of new trails by Downer. How do you incorporate new trails into your system?
Yep, so we go and map it out, and then we look at the landowners, if we need landowner permits or the township permits, and then we go to the township meetings and meet with the board chairs and whatnot.
Okay.
So,
So does your full mapping of your system have to be presented or put into DNR?
yes.
Okay.
Yep. We're supposed to do it, by June 1st, but that doesn't always get done because sometimes we're still changing. And like right now, we've got, Nature Conservancy is buying a bunch of land up by Felton, between Felton and Newland, so we're still working on that. But they emailed, a couple days ago, I replied last night, they actually came to us and says, hey, we see you got a snowmobile trail there, and we want to keep your trail there. And it's like, yes, that don't happen too often, so.
Well, we do, I certainly hear good, positive things about
Yep.
the work your clubs do when you have the ability to do it
Yes.
with the snow. So thank you for
Yep.
what you're doing to provide for the snow.
Yep, we've run into some snafus. I know the townships have been trying to update what's really a township road maps, right? So we ran into snafu going across some property where, a bunch of people said, yes, it's a road, a bunch of people didn't. So there's some of that we're still trying to mitigate, but.
Any further discussion?
Madam Chair, I would move resolution 2026-08.
We have a motion offered to approve the resolution 2026-08 from Commissioner Campbell, a second from Commissioner Bear. Thank you for maintaining these trails. It's quite a labor of love, and some years it's really easier, if you will, and some years it's tricky. As someone who lives really close to a trail, it's great to see so many citizens and residents utilizing the trail system, and it's really an exciting part that we have to offer our citizens. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
I suppose you want me to sign that so you don't have to stay the whole meeting? Okay. Item 3 today is a request approval to appoint Jeff Winter to the Clay County Planning Commission. We have Mr. Winter here alongside our Planning and Zoning Director, Mr. Jacobson. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners, and thank you for saying good evening, because I almost came up here and said good morning.
You have young kids, so we would take it.
Morning, evening, it's all the same, right? I'm here today to bring forward a Planning Commission recommendation to appoint Mr. Jeff Winter to the Clay County Planning Commission. This recommendation was made on March 17th at their meeting. Unanimous recommendation. Mr. Winter has been a lifelong Clay County resident living in rural Clay County and would fill one of our openings for a rural residential representative. So, and he's here if you have any questions or want to know more.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Do you have anything you want to say? We do have your sheet that shows your 18 years of experience
Oh,
in the
I'm
township.
excited, real excited to do this. I was on the Mullen Township Board for 18 years, so I've got off that now, but yeah, I live,
How did you ever get off?
right? Well, it was, my term was up and someone else came in and they
That's an
wanted to-
accomplishment.
I know it.
Commissioner Campbell knows, well, and Commissioner Bear
I
as
know
well.
it, yeah. No, it was fun and did a lot of good things and yeah, it was fun working with the county and you guys helped us out a lot and yeah.
Well, I've served on the planning commission for a long time, and it is really important to have that township's perspective. We really worked hard to make sure we have broad geographic representation throughout the entire county, and I think that you would fit in quite well with
Thank
that.
you, yeah.
I know Commissioner Bear was able to attend that meeting. I didn't know if you had any further dialogue.
So yeah, Jeff didn't make that meeting, but I have one question when I sat on that board. I always asked one question. How, it's 12 meetings a year roughly.
Yeah.
And when you were on township, how many times did you miss meetings? Because it's very important to show up on those
Yeah,
meetings.
absolutely, yes, and that's a concern of mine too. I would have to say 11,
Yeah.
a good 90% of the time, and you're either sick or vacationing somewhere.
Yeah, 'cause it's,
Yeah, no, I feel it's important, and if you're an elected official, you need to be there for yeah.
we don't have a problem making a quorum at the planning, but just
No, I
very important
fully
to show up to
intend
those
and
meetings. That's
just, yes.
the only comment I have.
No, that's a good comment, I totally agree.
And with that, Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve Jeff Winter to a 3-year term on the Planning Commission.
Motion offered from Commissioner Bear, a second from Commissioner Campbell. In the cost impact component, those were all budgeted, so there's no new dollars needing to advocate or allocate there. And then it would be the first of a 3-year term. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Congratulations, Chief
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 4 this evening is a recognition, a proclamation for Child Abuse Prevention Month, which is April 2026. Quinn.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Thank you for having me tonight. So, yes, I'm here requesting a proclamation. Just have a few words I'd like to say beforehand. April is nationally recognized as Child Abuse Prevention Month. Clay County Social Services plays a critical role in responding to reports of maltreatment and ensuring the safety and well-being of children in our community. So in 2025, Social Services completed 406 child protection and child welfare assessments and investigations involving families and licensed facilities. In addition, we provided child protection and child welfare case management services to 110 families and supported 146 children in out-of-home placement through foster care and other settings. Behind each of these numbers, though, is a child, a family, and a situation that requires careful assessment, professional judgment, and compassion. Child protection work is some of the most difficult work performed in public service, in my opinion. Social workers are often called into families' lives at their lowest moment of crisis, trauma, and uncertainty. So it's important to recognize these professionals who carry out this work every day. Our child protection staff step into difficult and often heartbreaking situations with professionalism and courage. They're tasked with protecting children while navigating complex family dynamics, legal requirements, and intense public scrutiny. Their work often happens quietly without recognition, yet it is essential to ensuring that vulnerable children in our community are safe and that families receive the support they need during some of the most challenging moments of their lives. Child protection workers are asked to make impossible decisions every day based on limited information that most people will never have to face, and they carry the weight of those decisions long after the workday ends. But preventing child abuse can't be done by one agency alone. It requires strong partnerships across our community, including parents, schools, healthcare providers, law enforcement, community organizations, faith communities, as well as friends, families, and neighbors. When families have access to resources, support networks, and early intervention, the likelihood of abuse and neglect can be reduced. Recognizing Child Abuse Prevention Month provides an opportunity to acknowledge the difficult work done every day to protect children and strengthen our community's commitment to ensuring that every child grows up in a safe, stable, and nurturing environment. And with that, I would request that we approve the proclamation.
Thank you, Quinn. Before the board reads the proclamation, I just want to say a huge shout out of gratitude to all the people that you just identified. I will say, as someone who sits in on some meetings about the scope of work that our employees deal with, it is heartbreaking and it sticks with you, and it's really hard to move on and see the bright lights past it. I will, however, say that your staff and the department and our partners that work with these children in terrible situations and even families provide that bright light. And it really is heartwarming to see how hard the team works to really lift these kiddos into situations where they have a bright future. And I think that is why you've seen this board be so supportive around additional programming and support and partnerships to help address the needs throughout an entire continuum of the issues in which we're seeing. So, Commissioner, yes, I'm sorry, Commissioner Eppinger.
Yeah, I just want to share something with you and your staff. I ran a child abuse unit in my career. And for hardened police officers who have been detectives for years, it was one of the most difficult assignments you could give people. And when I came to Moorhead, the officers, as you are very familiar with, the officers who worked those cases had a lot to deal with because of what they saw. And your staff and you and everybody that reaches out to help these kids, we can't thank you enough. It's not one of those things they're ever going to make TV or movies about, but it is. I worked homicides and I ran a unit to work these cases, and I was missing working homicides when we had those kids. Had to work the cases on these kids. So your people are doing, they're unsung heroes, and I hope they know we appreciate them.
Commissioner Campbell?
We read the proclamation. All right, whereas the children of Clay County are a vital part of our community and represent the future strength, health, and prosperity of our region, and ensuring their safety and well-being is a responsibility shared by all residents.
Whereas child abuse and neglect remain serious concerns that affect communities across the nation, and the impacts of abuse can have lasting emotional, psychological, and physical consequences for children and families.
Whereas effective prevention occurs when families, schools, healthcare providers, social service agencies, law enforcement, faith communities, and local organizations work together to support children and strengthen families.
Whereas prevention efforts focused on building protective factors within families, promoting positive childhood development, and ensuring parents and caregivers have access to resources and support systems that foster safe and stable homes.
Whereas community awareness and engagement are essential to preventing child abuse and neglect, and recognizing Child Abuse Prevention Month helps highlight the importance of the early support, education, and collaboration in protecting children.
Now therefore, be it resolved that the Clay County Board of Commissioners hereby proclaim the month of April 2026 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Clay County, and calls upon our residents, community organizations, schools, faith groups, healthcare providers, and businesses to work together to promote the safety, well-being, and healthy development of children.
Madam Chair, I would move the proclamation.
A motion offered to move the proclamation from Commissioner Campbell, a second from Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion?
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The proclamation carries. Thank you, Quinn.
Thanks, Quinn.
Item 5 is the Housing Support Program update. Quinn, you also have that.
That's me. Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, I am just going to provide a brief overview on our housing support program and kind of the changes that we've made here. Kind of excited about it. It's taken about 2 years to identify these things and put them into place, so you're getting the culmination of about 2 years worth of work here today. So, just an overview, what is housing support? I know you've heard me reference that program a few different times over the past 2 years or so. Housing support is a state-funded program that provides a monthly payment to providers serving eligible individuals to assist with room and board costs, with the goal of preventing homelessness and reducing more costly institutional placements. So in Clay County, this program serves adults with disabilities, adults with mental health needs, substance use disorders, and individuals experiencing or at risk of homelessness. I want to be careful with the language. The payments for these room and board costs go to providers, not to clients directly. This is a core safety net program that allows people to live in the community instead of living in those higher cost facilities or having unstable living conditions. Our housing support providers in Clay County, it's a range, it's a continuum of different types of providers, such as adult foster care, board and lodge facilities like the Lotus Center, supportive housing programs like Clay County HRA's scattered sites, as well as Bright Sky Apartments would be an example of that, and housing with services establishments. Those would be like assisted living facilities. All of which deliver housing, the actual shelter, the physical space that folks live in, and in some of these cases, additional supportive services to residents. So we, the county, we don't provide that actual physical brick and mortar shelter, nor do we provide that housing case management. We oversee the system that ensures the providers are doing what they're supposed to do under the program. So that means in practicality, we're entering into housing support agreements with these providers and screening the eligibility of each client on whether or not they're eligible for housing support. Quick snapshot in time as to what that looks like. Currently we have 2 staff that manage this program. One is sitting at 239 on her caseload and the other at 233. So it's important, it's not just the client eligibility, that also includes paying the providers updates to the wonderful outdated, antiquated systems that we've been talking a lot about, and supporting our other teams like our family team, our long-term care team, and our adult team. It's oftentimes there's program crossover between the clients that are on housing support. So as this program has grown, the workload hasn't just increased in size, it's of course increased in complexity. They keep adding rules and caveats to the program. What we were asking staff to do over time was manage all the providers, monitor the compliance of the program, handle the client eligibility, process the payments, and keep everything moving all at once as people went off the program and as people went on the program. So at a certain point, it just becomes too much to do all of those things well. So we kind of recognized this in 2024 and said, hey, we need to take a look at fixing this. So part of our work was just recognizing that's where we sit, and is there any sort of structural things that we can put in place to make that better? So from a big picture standpoint, nothing about the program was broken, but we certainly recognized the need to improve it. The work was being done, but most of that lived with the two staff. It was very structured to just the two of them. Steps weren't consistent when there was turnover in that. Wasn't always applied the same way. There's room for interpretation in some of the programs, and so when staff turned over, differences in the program happened, and I don't like that. This did create a few challenges. Inconsistency is a problem in programs, so depending on who's handling the case or working with a different provider, a situation could be interpreted differently. Secondly, that, in my opinion, inconsistency creates risk. So I don't like risk either because these expectations were not clearly defined and up for interpretation. Thirdly, it limited our ability to really have a firm grasp on the growth and the scale of this program over time. So again, towards 2024, sat down with the team that did this. They're the real content experts and said, how can we kind of fix this and make it work? Again, the good news is that even though it's taken us a while to get a grip on it, we have. We've created kind of the penultimate housing support manual. We've taken all of this institutional knowledge and all of the bulletin and program requirements and put it into a manual. So rather than relying on just what was in our staff's heads, we institutionalized the program. So now we have clear checklists, we have clear definitions, so now not only do the providers know exactly what to expect, the clients know what to expect, our staff know what to expect, it's codified. We've added steps to make sure that where there is consistency, we're holding all providers to the exact same program standards. So again, the attitude was rather than just this is how we've always done it, let's get a clear and consistent, easier path to follow. A good part about this is that we also strengthen the accountability side of the program as well. We now have a consistent monitoring and compliance process. Before it was a little bit random and reactive. It was still being done, but it was being done by the two staff that were also juggling the caseload. So we were able to change up some job duties and responsibilities within the unit and built in the ability to have someone do in-person site visits every single year. So we're gonna have really consistent checks on the providers. They're gonna physically go out to the locations where housing support is being provided, make sure everything lines up with what they're supposed to be delivering under the program. We have a standardized checklist, so every provider is being looked at the same. Again, fairness and consistency is important, but it's not just about checking the box, it's about understanding what's actually happening for that client on the other side. So it's gonna be an interactive process where we're actually gonna be speaking to the client, speaking to the provider, making sure that everything matches up, that people are getting what they're eligible to get. So at the end of the day, this really gives us a clearer picture of how the program is actually operating on the ground and across the county, and it helps make sure that we're maintaining quality and accountability for clients while still supporting our providers who are doing that work at the same time. So again, why this matters? To me, it's the three things listed right there: accountability, efficiency, and better client outcomes. Because we have these clearer expectations and stronger accountability with our providers, we have a better control over the program and how it's managed and how it's growing. I mean, we're at the point where we have to really consider capping the amount of people that could go on housing support just because of the capacity of the two staff that we have. We don't want to overextend them and then have eligibility issues or errors on administering the housing support program. We tidied up kind of the enrollment period as well before a provider could come in and just say, I want to be a brand new housing support provider, and we would process that. So we've created an enrollment window where we can kind of organize every September. We're going to have people come in and do this. So just kind of put some guardrails around the program to hopefully, again, get some bookends around what that looks like. So kind of shifts us from being reactive to actually leading the way and having a defining purpose of this program. With that, I'd yield for any questions that you have, but I just wanted to give you an update.
Thank you for the update, Quinn. Any questions from the board? Commissioner Evinger?
Yeah, Quinn, this is addressing one of the stickiest issues we've got in the community, and that's homelessness. And then the other sticky issue we have in the state is fraud. And I think on your own, you and your staff have gone forward to try and tackle both of these issues through this. And I hope the taxpayers know this is what they're paying for, and the money's not being wasted. And it's because of the initiative of you and your people. So thank you. Grateful for that.
Any additional comments? Any comments? Quinn, thank you for the presentation. Certainly important information for us to have. I appreciate all of the additional controls that we've added into that piece to make sure that we're utilizing dollars in the most fail-safe way, I guess. Thank you.
So much.
Thanks, Wynn.
Item 6 tonight is the request approval to apply for the composting grant through the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. We have our solid waste manager, Corey Bang, with us this evening. Hello.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I come before you this evening because we've been, if you remember on my board update, we've been working with a small group from Moorhead that wants to partner with us in creating a compost program within the county. We've reached out to several schools, colleges, large facilities that produce compost and got some pretty good support from them. So we would be looking at going forward with applying for the grant. It's a $2 million cap on the grant with a 20% local match, so that would cost us $400,000 at that point if we were to get the whole amount. We would be looking to set this compost facility up at the landfill. It would be on the closed portion of the landfill, so it wouldn't take up any additional space or any future growth area or anything like that. It would tie in relatively easy to our already working leachate program, so it would meet the MPCA needs. There are some fairly healthy costs involved. We would need some equipment, a grinder, a trommel, windrow, compost turner, et cetera. But those would all be applied for within the grant. So we would look for approval to apply for the grant. It is actually due next Wednesday. So we've been working and we're trying to finalize it right now, but we would like your approval to apply for that.
Thank you, Corey. This has been a discussion item, as you noted, with the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. I do know Commissioner Campbell has some comments on this.
Yeah, thank you. Corey, when you apply for the grant, how much detail do you have to go into in terms of the total request of $2 million? Do you kind of line item things on there?
We're line iteming everything down to where it's going. The MPCA, has tentatively approved our plan. All the equipment we need, the totes we would need, who would be responsible for it. Pretty much as detailed as we can be to make sure that they think the plan will go through and will.
And can we include in that application the value of the land that we're going to be using?
Yes.
I think that would be,
Yep.
that's because that can be an in-kind.
Right. The $400,000 can be either in kind or in monetary, so.
Okay.
One other thing I'd like to say is that the grinder and trommel could be used for multiple things.
Right.
We're looking at doing potentially a shingles recycling. We could grind those shingles up and actually have a usable product at the end. We would take all the metal out of it with the equipment there. So the stuff we're applying for, the equipment we're looking for would have multiple purposes at the landfill. That's why we felt it was good to put it at the landfill and not an outlying location, because we can't get that equipment back and forth. So.
Well, in our SWAT committee, we've talked about a grinder for quite some time, and
Yeah,
I think
they're not getting any cheaper.
And I think this really helps justify it.
Right.
But I think what we're talking about here, and in your report, you said there's like 37%
Yep.
of the waste that in municipality is basically organic food products.
Right, and we do a waste sort every year with the same 100 houses every year. And it's pretty consistent, that 35 to 37% organics. Every ton of that we take out is lifespan we add to our landfill, so, because that material can be composted, reapplied somewhere else and not go into the landfill just to decompose.
For our people who might be listening, one of the things to keep in mind here is that, if we can help remove another 30%, 7% of things that go to our landfill over and above what's been done now through our normal recycling process, that the savings on that landfill,
Right now-
just one cell alone
Right.
costs way more than $2 million to
Yeah, I would-
construct, so.
The last quote I had for an acre cell is roughly $3 million just to put in an acre cell. So if we could extend that life by a third, you know, that saves us a ton of money in the long run, so.
Well, we're talking $400,000 that can go a long way to save a new cell. So, I think it's a good idea, and thank you for working on it.
Commissioner Krabnoff?
Yeah, really behind this. A couple of questions. For the organic piece that you're trying to, for the compost, so do you feel if, to get this operation going, the 2.4 million's enough, or will there be other grants you'll need to go after, or?
It's enough to get us started. There will be additional grants if we decide to expand the program. This is basically just to get us started with the largest producers. This wouldn't be a door-to-door program or
No,
anything like that.
I understand that,
But yes, there would be in the future, and they've already informed us there will be more grants in the future. So if we can get this up and running and improve the concept, we would apply for more grants to expand the program in the future.
And then are you kind of modeling what you want to do after some other place?
Yes, we've been around, we went to Pope Douglas, and they had basically what they have is the state-of-the-art type facility. We couldn't do that for $2.5 million. So we also went to Polk County up north in Crookston, and they have a similar program to what we're looking at here. It's a windrow system. We can monitor the windrows. It's basically self-contained. Once you put them in the windrows, there's monitors, and it goes right to a laptop or computer.
And then the compost that it creates, where would that go, or how would that be sold, or what would be the
We
end?
would meet the PRFP on the compost, so it would be eligible for sale in the future to whoever would want it. You know, we would obviously limit that to Clay County residents. We also have had support from Becker County who would like to potentially haul their material here and pay for
Okay.
it. So there's a potential revenue source there too.
Okay, and then last question. With the grinder, I think it's great, mattresses, lumber, furniture, all those things you're talking about. So is that ground and then just put back in right back in the landfill to keep disintegrating, or how does that work?
Well, it depends what the item is. If it would be wood chips or tree branches, that kind of stuff, we would use it in the actual compost process because you have to have a certain amount of yard waste and that kind of stuff. If it's mattresses, we would take the metal out of it. If it's furniture, we would take the metal out of it. Anything like that, so we'd increase our recycling of the metal as well. Mattresses, as you know, when they go in the landfill, they don't squish down, they just keep popping back up.
Haven't we been taking those to DL?
The majority of them, yep.
okay.
We take probably 80% of them to DL, but the ones that are really contaminated and that kind of stuff, we could grind and get the metal out of them. Plus, we would eliminate the spring back on a mattress, so.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Additional questions?
Madam Chair, I would move that we approve the solid waste staff to apply for the composting grant through the MPCA in the amount of $2 million.
I'll second.
Motion offered to approve the request from Commissioner Campbell, a second from Commissioner Krabnoff. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7 is the request approval of the final contract voucher for SAP 014-599-106. We have our county engineer, Justin Sorum, here.
Yes, good evening. So the first item I have is requesting approval of the final contract voucher for SAP 14-599-106. This was a bridge removal in Elmwood Township. This one took quite a while from initial talk of the project to actually getting removal. I think the project went really well, and the final amount to be approved is $62,635.10.
Questions from the board?
Madam Chair, so when the original bid was 127,000, what made it go down so much?
Yep, so the biggest thing on this one was there was a lot less embankment than was it initially calculated. We were able to use some of the material on site, and there was just a bust in the quantity and being a little bit long on it.
Questions of the board?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the final contract for voucher SAP 014-599-016 in the amount of $62,635.10.
Motion offered from Commissioner Beard to approve.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Ebinger. Further discussion? Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Item 8, the request approval to advertise for SP 014-598-080. Justin, that's yours as well.
Yes, so this is approval to advertise that project. This is a bridge replacement project on County Road 51, just east of Barnesville. So this is shown in our 5-year plan, and it's a federal aid project utilizing bridges off-system funding, and it is a joint project with Wilkin County. Being that they have 2 bridge replacements, they are taking the lead through the state's eyes. The proposed letting date would be May 6, 2026 at 11 a.m. This would be held at Wilkin County, and then once that bid opening has taken place, I will bring that number forward for approval.
Thank you, Justin. Additional questions of Justin?
I'll make a motion to approve the advertisement of SP 014-598-080 for a letting date of May 6th.
Motion offered to approve the request from Commissioner Krabanoff.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion?
One question, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Bear.
Is this a bridge that's on the county line? Is that why?
1 mile north of the county line, but usually on a federal aid application, if you have a joint project, you have a better chance of getting that funding. So means Wilkin had 2, we had 1, we bundled it when we applied.
Just like what we're doing with Georgetown Bridge and, all right.
Correct.
Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Item 9 today is the approval of the MNDOT grant agreement 106-119 or 1904 and resolution 2026-09. Justin?
Yes, so this is the local road improvement grant that we did receive for the CASA 12 and 52 roundabout project. So the LRIP grant was in the amount of $535,000, and as required by MNDOT for local road improvement funds, a grant agreement and supporting resolution is required for this. And I did hand out sheet 4, which was just kind of a source of funds that is included in this grant agreement. Last week, we did receive notice from the state of Minnesota that there was additional federal money that could be applied to this project, and we wouldn't have to turn in any state aid funds or anything. And that number changed a little bit between board packet being published and today. So the one that I handed out is correct. It doesn't change the actual grant agreement by any, it's just the amount of federal is correct on the one that I handed out. So it is a really good thing. We received another over $600,000 in federal aid that we weren't expecting, which then in turn reduces the amount of state aid that we have to spend on the project.
Well, I just want to say that is really exciting. We are, one, blown away to be able to access funds to work on a project that's been such a critical need, and that we've talked about, to see we're able to access additional federal funds. Really, when we advertise and receive bids, approved things under estimate, we have additional federal funds coming in. Commissioner Campbell and I were part of a highway committee meeting where we talked about this, and it's just fantastic. So great work. I know that Nathan Gannon helped kind of work through that too on their part, but really exciting that we're able to complete a project with such great buy-in from additional partners. Commissioner Krabanoff?
Only one question. What takes 4 years? I'm just saying from 26 to 30.
Oh, so they like to, so that's when the actual grant funds expire through the bonding bill. They like to just put that in there just in case there's any sort of contract-related items, because a contract actually has to be finalized for us to receive all of the money.
Okay, all right, that's fine. That answers it. Otherwise, it's September.
Yep.
Okay.
Wishes of the board?
Madam Chair, I would move to approve MNDOT grant agreement 106-1904 and resolution 2026-09.
Okay.
I'll second that.
We have a motion offered from Commissioner Campbell, a second from Commissioner Bear. A clarifying question, can we have a motion that includes both, or do they need to be separate?
It can be the same.
Okay, all right. Further questions of the board? Any other questions? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Item 10, our request approval to bid for SAP 014-626-033.
Yes, so we had a bid opening this morning at 9 a.m. This was for the last portion of the CASA 26 mill and overlay that goes from Trunk Highway 75 to the Red River. I did hand out an abstract showing that we did receive 6 bids. Would you like me to read all 6 or just the low bid? I did read all 6 on a public meeting this morning.
Do you mind just reading them all
Nope.
6 right now?
I can. So the engineer's estimate for the project, which I don't have on there, but it was 1.6, a little bit over 1.6 million. The first bid we received was from Dunnick Incorporated. Their bid was $1,948,750.23. The next bid we received was from Knife River Materials. Their bid was $1,737,159.45. The next bid was from Mark Sand and Gravel Company. Their bid was $1,733,372.25. Next bid was from Border States Paving Incorporated. Their bid was $1,681,642.22. The fifth bid was from Central Specialties Incorporated. Their bid was $1,463,942.10. And then the apparent low bidder was R.J. Zavril and Sons Incorporated. Their bid was $1,343,720.45.
I appreciate you doing that, thank you. We also talked about this at Highway Tracking this afternoon. This is another key corridor construction. Residents have been really patient on this. We've communicated with additional projects that are happening throughout the region. Grateful that we're able to get this one done.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the low bid in the amount of $1,343,720.45 to Zavril and Sons.
Second.
We have a motion offered from Commissioner Bear, second from Commissioner Campbell for the low bid for SAP 014-626-033. Further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That item also carries. Item 11 is a request approval to issue a request for proposals for the roadway design services. Justin.
Yes, so this is requesting approval to issue a request for proposal, or in short, RFP. This was talked about throughout the 2026 budget cycle as something that I included. This would be for the roadway design services of CASA 11. That would go from Trunk Highway 336 to Sabin. This project's currently on our 5-year plan for construction in 2028. And then just a little bit of background on the road. It is currently the only paved CASA that we have with 11-foot lanes with gravel shoulders. This project is much needed, and I think it'll be a really good process.
Well, as someone who grew up hauling a trailer on that road, I can say that what we have now is a lot better than what it was in the 90s. That was white knuckle driving, but it still is far too narrow for the commodity that we see on that. I really appreciate that this is a project that we're looking at hard.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the insurance of RFP of the roadway design.
Second.
We have a motion offered from Commissioner Bear, a second from Commissioner Campbell. Further discussion? Further discussion? Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Item 12, the request approval for the dust control quotes.
Yes, so as you can see, we did receive one bid for calcium chloride from Glacier Dust Control. I am recommending that we do move forward with this quote. We did receive word today that one other person was planning to bid. that's on this abstract, hen and lawn care, but they received their bid back in the mail as undeliverable, so we can't accept it. Nor can we ask what the price was, but it's 5 cents higher than last year, so I do think this is still within budget and a good thing.
Thank you, Justin. Is there not an ability to submit this one online, similar to how we?
No, it's just on paper, but most people just drop them off.
Is that something that we think we should? I mean, this has not happened a whole lot.
No.
I think this is probably the only time, but
Even when we switched to all electronic bidding for projects, it was just more so just for the amount of paper that we were receiving, and then people were turning them in 2 minutes before the board meeting. This one, I can look into it. I don't know that there'd be much of an advantage to going online, just because the contractors that would be bidding on it don't have the profiles set up, and I think it might be difficult.
questions of the board?
Only
Commissioner
one.
Kavanaugh?
This is a company you used before or no?
Yep, many different times. They're the ones who did it last year.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the 2026 dust control quote from Glacier Dust Control in the amount of $1.83 a gallon.
A motion to approve the bid from Glacial Dust Control from Commissioner Bear.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Campbell. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Carries. Item 13. Justin, is this a record?
It is. Steve had sent out an email about an hour before I started submitting things saying there was a gap between the public meetings, so I told him I would take care of that.
Oh,
Fantastic. Okay, that's good. Move in with the request approval of the yearly supply bids.
Yes, so this is the yearly supply bid, so this covers corrugated metal culverts, furnishing bituminous asphalt, and then the rental of construction equipment. We do accept bids, all bids, and then that just kind of lets us, if we need to go buy asphalt, have a price for it. If we need to go buy a culvert, have a price for it. Or if we need to rent some sort of equipment, we also have that.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the yearly supply bids as recommended in the packet.
Motion offered to approve,
Second.
and a second from Commissioner Campbell. I see in the action items recommended by the highway, that also includes number 4, the gravel bids. Are you?
I have a separate item.
Okay,
for
so
one.
that is the items 1 through 3. Is that identified in the motion?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That item carries. Let's talk gravel.
Yes, so we did open bids for our annual graveling on April 2nd. We did receive 2 bids, and I am recommending the approval of the bid from Turner Sand and Gravel for townships 1 through 30. And this did fall well within our budget number, and we were expecting a little bit higher prices, so we did cut back a little bit from what we had normally done, but still falls well within budget.
I'll make a motion to approve the gravel bid from Turner Sand and Gravel for townships 1 through 30.
Okay, a motion offered from Commissioner Kavanaugh and a second from Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you for your work. I joke about the amount of items that you have on the agenda, but there's an immense amount of work that comes to be able to get all of those on the, in front of the board, so thank you.
Thank you.
We will go ahead and take our agenda addition, which is a request approval to, for the rehire of the lieutenant emergency management position. Backfill plan is, if available. We do have the sheriff with us. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Thank you for having me this evening. We got an unexpected retirement notification from Lieutenant Tweeten indicating that his intent to retire from the Sheriff's Office on May 8th. Lieutenant Tweeten holds a very important role, not only with the Sheriff's Office, but also with Clay County, being he is our emergency manager for the county. He also is our training coordinator within the sheriff's office, our quartermaster. He takes care of our wellness program, our chaplain program, and currently the new cadet program as well. So he wears a lot of different hats within the office. He has also held the role of a patrol deputy, juvenile investigator, patrol sergeant, and now lieutenant. So we do truly appreciate his work and everything he has done for the county. He is not only a county and local asset, but he's also a regional and statewide asset as well. He's a very knowledgeable person as it pertains to emergency management. We wish him well in his retirement. He has indicated that he's going to be more than willing to stay on in a variable hour role and help with maybe some courthouse shifts and things of that nature. With that being said, I am requesting to fill his position. We currently have a lieutenant posting for his position within the sheriff's office. When we were got this information last night, we posted it right away, knowing that this is going to be a quick turnaround, because it would be nice to have somebody work with Lieutenant Tweeten for a couple weeks, because he is currently in the process of our county hazard mitigation plan. So it will be nice to have somebody work with him for a few weeks. So the posting will end of the day on April 21st. Our intent is to do interviews on April 23rd in the morning, and then have that person named either later that day on Thursday and or Friday, and then have that person start on the 25th, where they will get 2 weeks with Lieutenant Tweeten to be able to work with him, introduce this person to various different people throughout the state and county and things of that nature. As you can see from the wage calculator, it's a very, very slim savings with Lieutenant Tweeten's role, and then putting somebody that would be a sergeant into that role. It's a $45 savings, but it is there. Further, we would have a sergeant position opening, because the sergeant would be moving into a lieutenant role. We do have a current sergeant's list available. We would take the next person off that list. And as you can see from that wage calculator, there is a little bit more of a savings of that, with $5,802. And then from there, that deputy is going to move into the sergeant position, so I'm asking to fill a deputy position as well. And as you can see from the wage calculator, that savings would be $6,095. And with that, I would yield to the board for any questions.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thanks for the presentation. We were able to have this discussion at a PIC committee meeting earlier this afternoon. There's certainly, we're really grateful for all of the folks who work for the county. Gabe has worked with our county board extensively, particularly when we were talking about CARES Act, and we've talked about disasters and how he coordinates with so many different partners, and really are sad to see him go, but really excited for what lies ahead with him. So reluctantly, I'll support the presentation as presented, but it's been a pleasure to get to know Mr. Tweeden. Yes, Commissioner Campbell.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd also like to just comment on, on Gabe and his years of service to Clay County. He was really instrumental in helping draft and prepare our emergency plan that we have. He's a long time. I think back to the intense work that he did on the years when we had a lot of flooding that went on. Yep. And all the works with the townships and the coordination of everything, and the working with FEMA and all those other agencies that sometimes can be very difficult. And Gabe did a tremendous job, and we're certainly going to miss him. And I will also echo Commissioner Mojo that we did have a special PIC meeting this morning regarding this, because of the urgency to fill that position. And the PIC committee certainly recommends going through the hiring of the lieutenant emergency manager position, as well as then backfilling the sergeant position, as well as then backfilling a deputy position. So that's, that's what we talked about this morning, and that's the recommendation before us today.
Any questions for the sheriff? Yes, Commissioner Ebinger?
Sheriff, is this going to be post, or do you have a promotion list for lieutenant and sergeant you'll be drawing from, or is it going to be with people at those ranks this time?
We currently have the lieutenant position posted. That needs to be posted for 15 days per the union contract. So once that is, once the 21st is up, then we will interview on the 23rd. And then we currently have a sergeant's list, so we will pull from that sergeant's list. And then we do have to post for a deputy position. We don't have a list for a deputy position.
Okay, thank you.
Wishes of the board?
Madam Chair, I would move the request to rehire the Lieutenant Emergency Manner position with the backfill plan as presented.
Second.
Motion offered from Commissioner Campbell, a second from Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have a little bit of a break. I'd like to knock off some of our committee reports, if that's okay. Commissioner Ebinger, scrambling.
All right. First item on 24th of March, took part in a remote meeting concerning the position we just talked, or involving the position we just talked about. We are due to come up with a new hazard mitigation plan, and I have notes in here somewhere. Here we go. We have to assess the challenges and initiate practices to mitigate them in this plan. There's a hazard mitigation process, looking at past issues that have occurred here, looking at funding. Basically, this was just a preliminary start to the process, and I think it's going to be, it just goes to emphasize what the PIC meeting brought to us, is that this position that really needs to be filled in an expedited manner to address not just this, but a lot of the different issues that Lieutenant Tweeten covered in the past. So that is that's a job that'll be developed here. On later that day, I attended the Diversion Financial Committee meeting. Just had general business, approved bills for almost $1.3 million. There was a sales tax discussion. It is coming in. It's a little under what was anticipated, but up slightly from what we've had in the past. We discussed WIFIA loan that is going to be, we'll be drawing our first one down here shortly. On the 26th, I attended the Diversion Authority meeting. Had general business on it. We addressed some of the issues that are coming up with that we're shifting over into maintaining and operations as soon as the building is done, and that's coming quickly. We're looking at, by the end of the year, having most of the projects done. Again, sales tax update, it's a little bit down from what was anticipated. We voted on the executive director's salary increase, and some governance policy issues were also addressed. One of the things that we've been discussing, and we've had a little progress on, were the property owners, Ben Askengard? Yes.
Askegaard.
That was addressed within this last week with the visit of the Army Corps of Engineers colonel that was in, and it looks like things have been expedited on it. The chair may have additional information on that. I just made the notes when we got the information coming in. Yeah, I'm not quite as organized as I usually am. Also attended the Diversion Authority Oh, I covered the finance meeting. On the 27th, had a Greater Fargo Moorhead EDC meeting I attended. The chair was also there. Had general business, had bylaw updates, board and leadership nominations, and they addressed some of the stuff from the working groups that are coming in. I'm going to tie this into a meeting I had with Joe Rasso, the executive director of the EDC, on the 6th. There are some changes that are occurring with Clay County and our relationship with the EDC. The new governance issues that have been passed have one representative from, on the executive committee, have one representative from Minnesota and one from North Dakota. Cass County is now representing Fargo and West Fargo as one entity. So it's going to be a Cass County position on North Dakota side. We are there, we have a board member, in this case myself, and Moorhead has Deb White, council member. Moorhead contributes about $15,000 more a year to the EDC, and the decision was made that if both parties are interested, the one that contributes the highest amount will be the executive member. So the Councilmember White's going to take that position. I met with Joe Monday to discuss issues because I've been an executive member, and we set the meeting prior to this change in positions. And we had a long talk about what the EDC can do to be of more value to the Minnesota side. And I won't go into any great details on that, but it was an hour and 20-minute discussion. I think we clarified some things. I expressed what our needs were and what the differences in the services that the Minnesota side requires. And I wish Councilmember White good luck working with the Executive Council, and we'll see if any changes come into developments over the next few months.
I appreciate, if I might, I did have an opportunity to meet with Councilmember White yesterday in regards to a follow-up from the meeting. She requested that between yourself and I, and then her other EDA liaison, Mr. Larson and Mr. Molly, we have a discussion before the budget process to make sure that Minnesota's interests are top of mind and we're able to advocate with one voice.
I really appreciate that. I would think I was candid with Mr. Razzo on issues that I think Minnesota needs. Thank you. Okay. Moving on. On the 30th, had a meeting with our county administrator, myself, a number of people from staff, meeting with Kim Savageau on Recorder's Office, the annual compliance meeting. As usual, Ms. Savageau was very well prepared and pointed out a number of issues. This is where we determine what funding can be directed to our technology fund and our compliance funds from the funds that she gathers, providing the services she does. It'll be presented to the whole commission here in total, but it is very reasonable and responsible numbers that she presented to us. It'll be something that we all get a chance to review. But it was a good report, good meeting. Later that day, I attended the opening of the new Moorhead Library for supporters and for partners in that. And I'm president of the Lake Agassiz Regional Library Board. It is a great facility. And I took advantage of the opportunity, since we have our Dancing Sky Area Agency on Aging meeting, the quarterly here in Moorhead in June, and reserved their meeting room there. And they got so excited. I heard from the executive director of the Agency on Aging, And she's got a couple of programs that she wants to present in the library in the coming months. So it's going to be a great facility for a lot of different entities here in the community. It's good to see it open. On the 2nd, I attended the SECB, or State Emergency Communication Board Legislative Committee. We had general discussions on the some of the legislation that's pending and where we are going with a number of different legislative issues. And then, again, have my meeting with Joe Rasso on the 6th, and that completes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Ebinger. Commissioner Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On March 24th, I had my Historical Cultural Society Finance Committee meeting. The numbers for the group looks very good, even though our admissions are down a little bit. Memberships are steady right now, and the gift shop is doing very well. So the budget is well in hand. We also have our final plan in place starting this month to start our new endowments for long-term savings and interest income that comes from that for over the period of our long-term needs. The next day we did have our monthly board meeting. The new thing there, we've had our executive director in place now for about 9 months. We're seeing new eyes on things and just trying to see how we can look at elevating the society even to a higher level than it's been. We've started working with a consulting group called Tellwell Story Consultant. And the idea is for new strategies to increase memberships, admissions, and donations. Hoping it'll take the HCS to a new and higher level. Also on the 25th, I had our PRTF, non-secure facility strategy meeting with lobbyists. Main thing was putting a plan together, which we've already started, reconnecting with the legislators of the counties that have been in support of what we're doing, also reaching out once again to the leadership of both parties. They're back to work, and it's a short period of time, and we want to make sure we're at their top of their minds as they move into the bonding bill over the next few weeks. On April 1st, I attended, I was invited to a meeting that followed the Moorhead Kurdish Friendship Proclamation, which was done a few years ago. Well attended over at MSUM. Just a few comments about this group there between Moorhead and work in Zaka. They've come with some exchange ideas involving education, possible trade, agriculture trades, and it was just really warm, heartfelt meaning of a new relationship that I think appears that it will continue for some time, and continued allowance. And just the fact at Moorhead, we have 3,500 people of the Moorhead population is Kurdish, and that's about 8%. Just so people know it's quite a community that's growing here. On the 2nd, I had our Children's Mental Health LAC meeting, well attended. That group keeps getting bigger and bigger, and just the networking that goes on between our healthcare providers and our social service department is just fantastic. Main discussion was that of creating small scholarships for summer camps, mainly for kids with the highest needs, trying to fill those gaps during, when school isn't in session. And then also working with the a group of kids over in Mort High. They've been putting gadgets together with their robotics machines. Really cool. And anyway, they came in and showed what they were doing, and we're going to start using some of that with our promotions and within our group, and then also when we're part of events. On the 6th, on Monday, I had Mort City Planning and Zoning. There were really two main items with that, and that was a new sign going up at M-State Community and Technical College that was approved, a new display, LED display sign, and then also a vacation of property for a replatting of in the subdivision of Prairie Parkway, Second Edition. Both of those were approved. That's my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Krabbenhoft. I appreciate that. I will go ahead and call a break now until our public hearing at 6:30 so that we can get it set up for the hearing. Thank you. Okay, it is 6:30. I'll call the Board of Commissioners back to our meeting. We are set for this public hearing that was advertised as a public hearing in regards to draft ordinances, a discussion for the shotgun-only rifle restricted deer hunting zones in Clay County. It is 6:30.
Madam Chair, I move to open the public hearing.
We have a motion offered from Commissioner Campbell to open the public hearing, a second from Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We're in open hearing. Mr. Larson.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Thank you to our citizens here that are here for the public hearing. We are here just to provide just briefly here a little bit of oversight for the evening. Again, the hearing has been opened by the board, and first slide is we're going to talk a little bit about the repeal of the state statute, what authority the new statute provided. We're going to talk about the three different options that the board will consider moving forward with. The board will then have the opportunity to have discussions along with what I envision having conversation during our slides. We'll also then have a citizen comment period. Once that is completed, we will close the public hearing, and the board will then have a additional discussion at that point. So a little bit of background, the reason why we're here. In 2025, the state legislature repealed Minnesota Statute 97B.318, effective January 1st of this year. As you can see in the slide, the map to the side, that was our previous zones. We had, again, a shotgun zone in the green area and in the yellow side from the Interstate 34 to the interstate to State Highway 34 to State Highway 32 to the east was our rifle zone. Minnesota statute, the Minnesota Statute 97B.031 mandated through statute that the state would allow rifle use throughout the state of Minnesota. They did have a caveat in subdivision 7, which states that county authority to limit firearms for deer hunting. A county board of a county located in the shotgun zone under Minnesota Statute 2024, section 97B.318, may adopt an ordinance after notice and a public hearing to limit the type of firearms that may be used to hunt deer within the county. Subsequent ordinance may be adopted under this subdivision only after additional notice and public hearing are effective until repealed or modified by the ordinance. And again, the statute, any statute changes, the deadline for that would be May 5th for adoption notification, so the DNR can get that into the hunting book for the year. This board had a public work session, a county work session on February 3rd, where we had an update on much of the information that we're talking about this evening. Subsequently, in work sessions, decisions can't be made, and so this board determined that it wanted to bring this to an agenda the following week. which at that time, this board determined that they wanted input from the public, and so that warranted a public hearing, and the date was set for this evening. So as we talked, there's 3 different options that we discussed as part of our work session and then board meeting. Again, the statute dictates that if this board were to take no action at the end of this public hearing discussion, the entirety of Clay County would allow for the use of rifles for deer hunting starting in the 2026 season. There would be no ordinance needed because it is already in statute. Option 2, the ordinance that's in your packet, addresses whether if the county were to go to shotgun only. Again, the highlighted areas dictate section 1.1. The shotgun area for the purpose of the ordinance would be defined as the entire territory, the boundaries within Clay County in the state of Minnesota. Option 3 would be a carve-out enforcement area. One of the things that we discussed, again, we already had a carve-out essentially in our previous plan, but we had a carve-out where we had a discussion about the potential of splitting the county at State Highway 9. Rifles could be utilized to the east of State Highway 9, and rifles would not be allowed to be used. Would remain a shotgun zone to the west in the green section. Just to provide some comparison from our 2025 season to what was discussed, this is our 2 different options. Ordinance 3 again breaks it out into the specific area. One of the things that our board talked about during the work session and our board meeting was a concern with enforcement from the DNR. The sheriff reached out to the representatives from the DNR and specifically stated that they would enforce a carve-out, but specifically requested in the letter that they would prefer that any ordinance that we have dictate that we would request their continued enforcement in Clay County. Again, this letter is from the Enforcement Division of the DNR. It's included in your packet. The main portion of what I just addressed here is letter from the DNR, Division of Enforcement, a request that we include in there in a clause in the ordinance giving conservation officers the authority to enforce the new ordinance. Again, it does say if a county is silent on whether they want the DNR to enforce the ordinance, they will enforce it until indicated otherwise. It's been the position of the board and also in conversation with the sheriff that we would be requesting as part of our ordinance that the DNR continue to enforce any carve-outs.
Mr. Larson, can you explain briefly for the audience, part of the discussion that we had at the work session was minimal or a lineup of whatever decision the county board were to make if it were, as simplistic as a line instead of random carve-outs around public versus private or bodies of water, making sure that it was a clear and consistent line for enforcement.
Yeah, I think with what is important from the sheriff's department, the DNR, is having a clear line for that enforcement piece. I think that in our discussions that this board had we have from a county perspective, we have some pretty different areas. We have much more of the flatland on the west side of the county and more hills and trees on the east side of the county, and that Minnesota State Highway 9 is kind of where that break kind of happens, and so that's why it was brought forward with State Highway 9. And so that I would yield for any questions or additional questions from the board.
Before we open up to public comment, any questions, clarifying questions on the presentation from any member of the board? Any member? Okay. Sheriff, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't. I think it was covered very well by County Administrator Larson.
Attorney Melton, do you have anything to add?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. One, I just want to extend gratitude to all of you for your active participation in this issue. It's clearly something that's very important to all the people that have made it a fact of coming tonight. We've had almost 40 folks submit public comment online. All of us spend a lot of time at the Capitol advocating for the needs of Clay County, and I think it's important when this item was passed at the legislature, not one county was offered the opportunity to testify on it. I'm a big person that thinks local control is very important, and so making sure that our residents have the opportunity to advocate for the needs as they see, which is why we're excited that all of you came to provide testimony tonight. We will go into the open comment opportunity here. All of the items that we received online through the comment form will be added into the public record. We won't go through and add all of those or name all of those, read them off, but they will be part of the minute packet. Those of you who wish to address the board will be provided 3 minutes to offer your perspective. And we really have talked a lot about how important it is to hear from you. So we do really want to hear what your perspective is and help us to make this decision if a decision is made at the board. All comments will be directed towards the board. It's not going to be a back and forth to other members of the public. So just utilize your 3 minutes, state who you are. We do need you to identify your address and then proceed with your testimony. We're going to do just draw a short straw, and someone's going to go first. I'm going to call on Nick Olsgaard, a Kurtz Township resident. He has to go to a CW elevator meeting later, but Mr. Olsgaard, you will be provided 3 minutes, and there is going to be a timer, and you can proceed. Identify yourself and your address, please.
Good evening. My name's Nick Olsgaard. I live at 11549 40th Street South, Moore, Minnesota, in Clay County. I'm in support of allowing rifles for hunting. Doesn't mean you can't use your shotgun. The original shotgun only wasn't to create safety. It was created decades ago for the population control. Today, we're dealing with the opposite problem. We have a strong deer population that not only impacts plenty of car accidents, but you do have a little bit of crop loss here and there. This isn't just about a hunting issue, it's a public safety and economic issue. Rifles provide better accuracy, which leads to a more ethical harvest and fewer wounded animals. In open farmland like we have here, hunters have a clear line of sight for their target and beyond it, which allows a safe and responsible use. That's what deer safety or hunter safety was for. The state of Minnesota has already approved of rifles statewide in 2026. That tells us this is a well-studied and supported change. Counties still have the ability to step in if there are real problems, but there seems to be no clear evidence in Clay County of additional restrictions. This is about modernizing our approving, trusting, responsible hunters and better manage our deer population for the safety of our roads, farms, and community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Olsgaard. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Who wants to go next?
Good evening. Thank you for hosting this. My name is Joel Hildebrandt. I live at 28953 15th Avenue North in Eglin Township, and I am strongly in favor of option 1. Eliminating the shotgun zone would be a good thing, I think, for law enforcement wise, because there is, it's carved out in ways that don't make sense. The myth or the talk that shotguns are safer, that is, I believe that's a total myth. I have lived in areas that are more densely populated than Clay County, Minnesota, which allowed rifles. There simply were no safety issues. As the previous person stated, rifles are more accurate. It leads to, or should lead to, can lead to a more humane harvest. Hunting zones currently as they are, they can be confusing, and while you may have people inadvertently be hunting across the county road with the wrong firearm. Whereas county boundaries are generally very well marked and everybody understands where they are. Folks that still want to hunt with their shotguns, that have invested and really like that firearm for hunting, can still do that. I would, again, strongly recommend or hope that you guys choose option 1, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hildebrand. Next. Yep. There's a lot of people that have a lot to say, so feel free to just filter through after the testifier finishes.
I still get 3 minutes, right?
You do, yep.
It won't be that long. Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Jason Hicks. I live at 11303 250th Street North in Goose Prairie Township. I have been hunting in Clay County since 1982, with the exception of 1989, 1990, and 2003 when I was in the Army and overseas. Other than that, perfect attendance. I have a lot of experience firing rifle and in high-powered competition. There is no such thing as a magic rifle that fires forever as far as you can see. It's not possible. Gravity takes effect, ballistics come into play, all the elements that we deal with come into play when firing a rifle at long distance. I am in favor of option 1 because I can hunt a coyote anywhere in Clay County with any firearm I see fit, day or night. Think little tiny coyote, 3-foot deer. There's a difference. That being said, rifles are not magic. They don't just shoot as far as you can see. Very, very common myth. The average whitetail deer is 3 foot roughly at the shoulder. Think at 300 yards with their 30-06, that bullet's gonna drop about 20 inches. Think of that. You're aiming center mass, 20 inches. Go past that, it drops even more. Again, very much in favor of option 1. I have hunted with shotgun extensively, and I can tell you that I've lobbed a lot more slugs than I ever would with a rifle, ever. Shotguns are by no means any safer than any rifle out there. Also, you think about with kids hunting and the recoil of a shotgun. I don't know how many people hunt, but shotguns kick much more than rifles. We can encourage the youth to become more active if they have a caliber rifle that they can handle. So there's that to add as well. So thank you for your time, and that'll be it.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. Mr. Larson, just clarification really quick. That's been referenced twice, option 1, and the map in our packet does not necessarily have option 1, 2, or 3. The option 1, as referenced, my understanding would be the do nothing to follow what the state legislature did last year. Is that
That's correct, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Hi, Jerry Buttonoff, 10049 140th Avenue South, Barnesville, Minnesota. I don't agree with the preceding guys that spoke. I've got a pasture with a half section of state ground right on the east side of me. I've seen 15 to 20 guys in there occasionally, all over on 320 acres of ground. We used to have deer stands on the line. I've moved them off because it's crazy. I mean, these guys get up, it's all flat and it's east of Downer, but it's still in flat country. There's a little rolling ridge. The deer, they sit on my fence line, the deer come up over this little rolling ridge, and there's 2 houses straight to the west, and there's 1 house to the north. And I am totally surprised they haven't gotten shotgun slugs in them, but you give a guy a rifle, then it's gonna go a lot farther than that shotgun. And I don't believe most of these people know how to really hunt. I mean, there's some guys that can hunt, but there's guys out there that I've talked to that I walked up to them and they've said they've taken shots at sounds
They've taken shots. I watched them shoot at running deer with a shotgun at 250, 300 yards. And just because you give a hunter a rifle instead of a shotgun doesn't turn him into an ethical hunter. There's no way. I mean, I strongly urge you to leave it the same, or at least when you get out by Rolog, there's some hills to stop the bullets. You know, they might still be shooting over, but they might not. They might be ethical enough to shoot down. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Buttonhoff.
Good evening. I'm Brian Winter, and my address is 14834 28th Avenue South, Glendon, Minnesota. And I live east of Highway 9. And I am in favor of option 2, sort of the, if it's not broke, don't fix it. We've had shotgun season here for probably since there was a modern day deer season, to be honest. So it's been the way it has been, and there are certainly accidents sometimes, but they're, you know, not that frequently. And this county, even though it's obviously, you got to go a little bit further east of Highway 9 and it's still pretty flat, and then it gets hilly, but it's not forested like the primary rifle zone in this state. And I just think because of the distance that rifles will carry, and there's an awful lot of farms and homes and dwellings, and I definitely am in favor of option 2, just keep the county the way it was. And another issue is if you drive around during deer season, you will see really a lot of deer take refuge out in the wide open fields because they know they're safe from the roads, that people can't sneak out in a crop field. And I see deer laying out there and standing out there watching the trucks go by all the time. If it's rifle, you can shoot them from the road ditch. Well, if you got permission technically, but I think that the incidence of shooting, you know, from road ditches is going to go up. I mean, I think it's going to become an issue. So, and then I guess my last point would be, we really don't need to be more effective at killing deer in Clay County. We're restricted by the DNR and have been for 10 years or more to getting a doe permit to hunt the gun season. And I think if you just make it, rifles are certainly more effective because of their long range. And if you make it a rifle season, more deer will get killed. There will be less opportunity to get doe permits in the future, which I think is helpful for, you know, youth and younger people to have the opportunity to take, you know, any deer. So that's my comments, but I'm definitely in favor of option 2.
Thank you, Mr. Winter.
Kendall Nichols, 1511 Sunset Boulevard, Hawley, Minnesota. But our land is west of Ulen. And under option 2, the slug zone would be Highway 9 and east. If you left it the same, the shotgun slug would go, boundary would go to the road going through Ulen. And I would really prefer that, in the fact that we've got stands that sit 400 yards from the back of our house on a neighbor's property. There's a ridge that runs in between those stands and our house. And unfortunately, I have been one that has sat there and heard the whistle of a rifle go off and see the dirt come up beside me a quarter mile away. And that's not a fun situation to be in. You never saw a kid dug down a dead furrow so quick in your life. So and our land is on the level. It is not hilly around us, and we are surrounded by public hunting land. And my brother's house is right across the road from public hunting land, and even he found a slug in the back of his car one year. So I've got some real concerns. If it goes rifle, we'll adapt. We'll get our stands up higher, but I would prefer it to stay slug as it was in the past, and that's not an option that you have in your packet at this time. But I'd like to say thank you to the commissioners for taking the time to hear the public comments.
Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Commissioner Campbell?
Yeah, can I just get clarification from Steve on these options again? So option one is basically what the state has put forward with their legislation, which would be all rifle. And I'm hearing some are talking about option two, and that's remaining the same. And so that basically dividing line would be more like Highway 32. Is that correct? Is that what option two is that we're talking about here?
That's what it sounds like. So,
And then option three would be County Road 9 would be the dividing line. Is that?
Correct. So if you look at the packet that we received, if you look at page 102, which is what it was before the legislature enacted the change, I'm hearing that is what people are referencing as option two.
Right.
And then behind it is the 9 split proposal that would be option three. The option one would be the
I just
legislative.
want to make sure that when everybody talks about option 1, 2, and 3, that those are what you're talking about, so. Because option 2 and option 3 both have a split. It's just that the split is in a different location.
And my understanding is Mr. Nichols was talking about how it was last season before the legislative change, correct? That's correct. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page when you're describing what you want here, so.
Yes, Commissioner Krabanoff has a question.
Well, let's do clarity here too. Mr. Winter, I understood you to say number 9. Is that correct? You were talking, would you like it on 9 or 32, the line? Thank you. Okay. Okay.
So maybe for some of us that are illustrationally challenged, I'll reference myself. Let's for the future not say option 1, 2, and 3. Let's say last season, which was the 32 split. Let's say no change, which means all rifle, and that's maybe reference the 9 or an additional option that you propose, just so we all are understanding each other. Who would like to go next? Good evening.
Hi, my name's Tony Frank. I live at 3242 Highway 9 South, Glendon. We live in the Boughton's Addition, right along Highway 9. My preference would be to leave it as is. If you are going to split it, I think Highway 9 is the wrong road to split it on. I saw in the KVL whatever report, they talked about they did a study and they said west of 9 was denser population, did not support rifle, whereas it was the opposite on the east side of 9. Not as dense a population, and the topography is going to support. In my mind, that's completely ass backwards. If you've been out there, you go west of 9, it's all large farms, large sections of, yeah, it's all flat. Sure, there's no hills, but it's large sections of farmland. You get out there with a rifle, you're not going to run into the issues that you are on the east side of 9. Anybody who has been on the east side of 9, which is where my family has hunted for 40 years, it's flat up until you get towards the Holly area. I would say if you're dead set on splitting it, either leave it at 32, because right now our zone 269 at Highway 32 to the east of that is rifle. So pull it up maybe to Highway 31, which is the Silver Lake Road that comes out of Holly, because then you're starting to get into the hill country. But from Highway 9 going east, if you have been out there, it's denser population because you have tons of small developments, tons of families that just have single house dwellings. But the main thing is they're all surrounded by public hunting land, waterfowl land and public deer hunting land. So you have these small sections of public land surrounding all of these homesteads. It's just an accident that's going to it's waiting to happen if you let them use rifle. Now, I've heard the argument that, well, a rifle is safer, you have a scope, blah, blah, blah. Okay. If you hunt with a shotgun, anybody that's hunted with a shotgun knows you've got to be within probably 100 yards. You're talking open sights. The slug is not going to carry. when you're hunting in a land like that where you've got pockets of hunting land surrounded by houses, it's much safer than somebody that's sitting out there with a rifle. Now, okay, you got a scope, but to me, it all comes down to safety. I don't want to take my family, my grandkids out sitting where we sit, where we're surrounded by dozens of hunters that are hunting in public land that's flat, because we're not in the hill country yet. We're not over in that roll log area. And they start blamming away with guns that are, the argument holds if no hunter ever missed, but they're gonna miss. And those rifled shells are gonna carry what? I'm not a rifle guy, 300, 400, 500 yards. When you're talking about you have a collection, a lot of hunters in one area, you've got lots of little homes or homes in these areas surrounded by all this public land, those shells gotta go somewhere.
Thank you, Mr. Frank.
Okay.
I appreciate your testimony. I do want to offer clarification that the stories that ran yesterday chose to only access part of the packet options. They were not the fact or nor the decision of this board. They were simply a starting point. So I do appreciate the clarification on that.
Good evening. John Brayton. I live in 1282 230th Avenue, Wilton County. I am a Wilton County Commissioner. I'm your board. We made the decision last month. I do not envy you guys for having to make this decision because it's tough. We did stay with the shotgun zone just like it was before. And we went by basically the majority of the people that what they wanted. And the majority in my district wanted to keep the shotgun. The comment that I've not heard from this group yet, and maybe it'll come up later, North Dakota hunters. And I've heard it that when you let North Dakota hunters in, like they can do now, they pay $185 to get a license to come over and shoot a deer. They don't own shotguns from what I understand. I'm not a hunter. I care less. I mean, I'm concerned for my citizens and whatnot, but I don't care about the hunting part of it. But keep in mind that if you start letting rifles in, the hunters from North Dakota that can't get a deer over there will now come over here and shoot them for, off the road, let's say. But I mean, it's easier for them to shoot a deer over the Minnesota side for the money. They're not going to go out and buy a shotgun just to do that. But I just say good luck to you guys, and like I say, there is of the count. I just got an email today. There's 6 counties that have stayed shotgun only. There's 33 that have made decision to go rifle, and there's 22 that are undecided, and then there's 87 counties, so there's still 20-some to go yet. So it'll be interesting to see how you do it. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Brayton. I think it's also important to note that not everyone had shotgun zones either, so before the change was made. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's next? Hello, sir.
I'm Lucas Wallstrom, 1704 51st Avenue North, Moorhead. I'm in favor of option 1. If you actually look at the DNR incident reports, you will see that Clay County, with shotguns, has had more incidents than most other counties. Now, I understand people's concerns. I understand that a rifle does travel further, but a modern day rifled slug barrel with a saboted slug, a lot of people feel that they can shoot those 250, 300 yards, which is probably not. It should probably be closer to 150 to 200 to be ethical. But people have that mentality. People feel like they can throw that slug further than it should be. And I feel that a lot of people's conversations here today actually revert back to the ethical and training when you have a young hunter. You can bet your bottom dollar that when my daughter's out there, I'm going to tell her, you can't shoot that direction, there's a house. You can bet your bottom dollar that we know where each other are on our land. I understand that there's state land concerns. However, those people need to be responsible and ethical hunters. Okay, that's not a gun issue. It's not. Regardless of how you may feel or where you may stand, that's not a gun issue. Kendall is my uncle. Okay, I sympathize or empathize with his situation. I had a slug fly over my head when I was in a wildlife as well. Okay? His happened to be rifle, mine happened to be slug. I happened to know who was doing the shooting. After that, a large conversation was had, and skills were taught, and it never happened again. So, when you talk about rifle, I think people should be more likely to be careful due to the fact that they have the mentality the slug doesn't go that far. Most of the incidents have actually been self-inflicted, but the areas with rifle have less incidents. Now, does that have a bearing on current situation? No. And also keep in mind that by St. Cloud, which is also heavily populated, is rifle as well. So I'm in favor of option 1.
Thank you, Mr. Wallstrom. Good evening.
Hello, my name is Hunter Olson. I live at 309 Joseph Street in Holly, Minnesota. I am not in favor of switching over to rifle, just for the sheer fact, as Mr. Brayton stated earlier, we will have a large influx of North Dakota hunters. And currently, by Minnesota DNR guidelines, there is no lottery system for out-of-state hunters. There's no restrictions of any sort. And you give them the option for a rifle, they're going to come in waves. I strongly don't agree with that. And just for the geography of Clay County, yes, there's a lot of open fields. Yes, you have a long line of sight, but there's still a lot of areas where people hunt near towns, and I've seen a lot of people take poor shots that they really shouldn't have taken. People got lucky, and if it was a rifle, they might not have. That round might have carried a little bit further. Now, I will agree that the new shotguns, if you invest in a good shotgun, I shoot sable rounds through a rifled barrel, and at 200 yards, you have an 8-inch drop, which is pretty impressive for a shotgun. Now, if you're shooting the old rifled slugs, yeah, they're not very good. They don't travel very far, and frankly, a lot of North Dakota hunters, that's what they have. They're not willing to invest be able to buy an actual decent shotgun for deer hunting. So that's all I have to say. I'm definitely not in favor of switching over to rifle at this time. Thank you.
Mr. Olson. Hello.
Hi, thanks. My name is Tyler Lutke, and I live at 713 4th Street, Holly, Minnesota. So I want to start off with Minnesota doe permits. So right now, Clay County has doe permits issued through the Minnesota DNR, and they restrict those because the DPA is lower than what they think. Right now, it's at like 5.6, and they want to get it up to 6. So there's not as many deer as we think there is, according to them. I'm on email chains monthly with Minnesota DNR. I work with them daily. So I see what they see. I think there is more deer than that, but they don't. I would like to keep it in the shotgun, if at all possible. My biggest concern is like the others with the North Dakota residents. Clay County has a ton of public land. And with North Dakota's guys getting licenses once every 4 or 5 years to shoot a deer, they can come out, buy a license, come over and hunt in Clay County. Tons of options. People can say what they want about things, but I shoot a 20 gauge shotgun with a rifled barrel. I won't shoot past 200 yards. You give me a 6.5 Creedmoor, you could shoot 400 yards. So the biggest thing is we're not even meeting our DPAs by the DNR, yet we're gonna allow people to shoot farther to harvest more deer possibly and bring in more people. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Ludke. Good evening.
My name is Bryant DeVries. I live at 1301 Southview in Glendon. Not in favor of switching. That gentleman back there brings up a real good point, is all of our land is not on deer hunting populated the same. Our public lands, they're public lands. That's where a lot of us have to go. Not everybody has a good chunk of land they can go hunt with deer stands. there's times, Mr. Buttonhoff, you said that potentially 20 people right next door. That's true. They're all carrying some sort of gun. The North Dakota thing is also a factor. Kids and the youth, get the youth involved, for sure. They can come over here right now for $5, I believe, and take a deer. Where are they hunting? They're hunting our public lands again. So if we fill them with rifles, and there's a lot of it on the edge of, once you get east of Highway 9, that's where a lot of our public land starts. Getting into the Highway 32 is, if you want to go hunt with a rifle, there's ample public land out there to go hunt also. So you can still have the options. It's just a slippery slope with the volume of people that are coming out deer hunting weekends to hunt and throwing them into a new rifle game here. Could be bad, might not be.
Thank you, Mr. DeVries. Also, feel free to line up behind the testifiers if you don't want people to watch you walk up the entire time. Good evening, Mr. Cava.
Hi, Andy Cava, Barnesville, 17892 180th Avenue South. And I sent in comments, but I guess what got me up here is probably I didn't realize you were talking about using Highway 9 as a boundary, which would bring the city of Barnesville into that rifle zone versus a shotgun. That kind of scares me, and I don't know if the city of Barnesville is aware that they were pulled into that with that change or not, so might be something you would want to talk to that city council about. While I'm up here, the other thing that concerns me is the small plot landowners. I've got two guys that border my land. One's got 5 acres, one's got 10 acres, and on the 10-acre piece last year, all of a sudden they put 3 guys in there. I had stands on my land that I wouldn't even let my kids and family go to because it's just too dangerous, and that was with shotguns. So now you open that up to rifle, and that generally scares me, really scares me. So, and I have had a shotgun slug land in front of me hunting years ago from, well, it's on an 80, so a quarter mile away, and if that would have been a rifle, that would have been my eyes instead of the ground in front of me. So hopefully you'll leave it the way it was.
Thank you, Mr. Cava. Anyone else wish to address the board on the issues? Good evening.
Good evening. Josh Neneg, 122nd Street South, Salem, Minnesota. One factor I'd like to bring up that no one has, everyone's spoken to shotgun and rifle, but there is a option called straight wall cartridges, which rather than shotgun would extend ranges from 100 to 150 out to 200 to 300. It's a very limited selection of cartridges, but it would be an option where maybe we don't see 400 yards like the 6.5 Creedmoor was noted by a previous speaker, keeping it safer for some of these limited parcels. Iowa already does that with all of their deer hunting since they are closer and have a lot of the rural city mix. But it just should be noted that maybe straight wall cartridges should be looked at for something like this. I do like option 3 on the Highway 9, but as previous people have spoken, there are concerns around that. So just felt like straight wall cartridges should be mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Mr. Davis.
Yes, sir. Ma'am.
That's all right.
Chairperson.
I'll respond to anything.
Chairperson. Thank you, Commission. My name is Bill Davis. I live on 609 First Street Northeast in Dilworth. And I got one big question. Is what you're deciding today, is this forever?
No.
Or could you change this next year?
Thank you for the question. Our understanding, it is something that boards can revisit.
Okay, because, I can't think of a good reason not to open it up. I don't know where people hunt west of Highway 9, other than on the river. That's where I've hunted, since in the 60s, for crying out loud, on the river. And I don't know what else is there. And I wouldn't use a rifle on the river anyway, that's personally. But if you open for rifle all the way, if it doesn't go good, and I think part of that would be maybe from the observations from the sheriff's department, maybe revisit it and say, whoa, this didn't work. We need to go back to shotgun zone, or we need to cut it back. But I can't think of a good reason not to open it up to rifle. Because I don't know how many people hunt west of Highway 9. I don't know where they hunt because it's all farmed. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Madam Chair, can I
Commissioner Campbell.
clarification? Based on the question just asked in regards to how long this is for, right? Isn't there language in there that states that this has to be reviewed in a year if we do something different than what the state?
Correct. Well, I guess I would point out to anybody and everybody here, no law is forever. You have the ability to adjust and make adjustments to ordinances at any time that you create. You know, that's part of being part of an elected body. But with that said, this ordinance requires if you take action within 1 year, you would have to review it to look to see if you renew it again, so.
And then there would have to be another hearing.
You would have, correct, and another public hearing, so.
Okay, just want to make sure we
certainly
follow that
I
process.
think it's also important to note that in order to print maps and for their communication booklets, decisions would likely need to happen by the beginning of May the following year. Thank you. Additional comments?
Hi, thanks for doing this anyway. Jim Sheridan, I live at 27045 60th Avenue South, Park Township. And I would like to see it stay the same as it is. I'd like it to remain at 32. I know sometime in my past, they DNR changed it and it lasted for a couple of years, I believe. And I think if you want to see what happens to your deer herd with rifles along the river, go to North Dakota. I think if the board would look up and see how many licenses they permit in Cass County, you would get an idea what the deer herd is on the other side of the river compared to our side. And that's about all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sheridan. Just so to clarify, you are in favor of keeping it as it was last year's hunting season. Thank you. Additional comments? Good evening.
I'm Nathan Shaw from Holly, Minnesota, 4700 190th Street North. I've hunted up east of Highway 9 in Clay County for all my life. Observed all kinds of hunting situations. One thing is people talk, there's a lot of state land. There's a lot of hunters out there. Shotguns go bang, 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 bang. They reload, it goes bang, 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 bang. Where are all those bullets going? Would anybody rather have a chance of one bullet flying their direction or 5 or 10? There's a lot of emotion I see with people here. Not wrapped up into facts. More emotion, there's fear. Our residents of Alexandria, Minnesota are scared of rifle. There's more people in Alexandria that's a spread out town than here. We don't hear concerns of safety in those areas and those parts of the state. I think that you all need to be considering facts instead of emotions. I think that you need to be sticking to some ground rules. I mean, the whole topic of flatland and hills, if a rifle travels farther and a deer is crested in a rolling terrain area south of central Minnesota, how that land is, that bullet, when the deer is on the crest of a hill, has the opportunity to travel. In flatland, it doesn't. That argument, I think, should not exist. The reason for rifle and shotgun was with deer population and effectiveness that way. That was the idea back in the day. It's up to the DNR to decide if that was effective or not. It looks like they're thinking it maybe wasn't. End of the day, as people here observing the number of deer, what their opinion is. My opinion is we have too many deer. I like to hunt. Everybody likes to be able to fish in a lake that has tons of fish. Is too many fish a bad problem? Yes, it can be. Is too many deer a problem? Yes, it is. I hit 2 deer last year on the road. I'm a very observant driver. On Highway 10 and on 113 on my gravel road. I have to constantly be on the watch. We have tons of deer. That's my opinion. That's what I've observed living in that area for 38 years. So my opinion is to go with the state's decision. I observe a lot of people around me in the area that view that way, and as we see the squeaky wheel gets the grease, might not be seeing as many of those opinions, but in my experience. I've talked to a number of people who are favoring it. They're back to facts and letting go of emotions such as being scared and this and that. Think about the large cities and the rest of the parts of the state that don't have issues with safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Good evening, Randy.
Randy Shalek, 240 First Street South, Sabin, Minnesota. Just a couple quick statistics. National average, it's 93% of the first shot with a rifle is a kill shot. And national average with a shotgun is only 60%. So you're going to have 40% of the deer running, and now we're shooting at running deer, which is probably way harder to do than a standing deer. Another point of clarification with the North Dakota and Minnesota population. North Dakota has a way different approach on licensing. So I mean, to compare the population in those two states doesn't really have any justification, really. And as far as North Dakota people coming to Minnesota, I believe east of 32 is still a rifle, correct? And so that 20-mile distance, is that going to bring that many more people in? I mean, you can still hunt rifle in Clay County. So, I mean, that's kind of a non-issue as far as I'm concerned. Thank you guys for all you do, and thank you for your time.
So, Mr. Shalek, what would you prefer?
Rifle.
Legislation. Okay, thank you. Additional comments? Good evening.
My name is Abby Benson. I live at 3172 Highway 9 South, right outside of Glendon. I'm on the east side of 9. I'm not in favor of it being split on 9. I want to keep it like it was last year. I mean, a lot of people addressed really good topics tonight. I think we could sit here for hours and discuss it. The one thing I did want to bring up that wasn't mentioned is the youth hunt at the Buffalo State Park. I don't know if anybody knows if that's still a thing nowadays. I'm assuming it is. I grew up doing the youth hunt. I think it was 2 years, Dad? Yeah? Best time of my life, best memories made.
Good job, Dad.
My argument would be, if this becomes a rifle zone, is the DNR gonna allow a rifle? The state park doesn't close down. Hikers are still allowed to hike, walk, do whatever duties. They just have to wear orange. So if the DNR claims, if we make this a rifle zone and they say no for safety purposes, it has to be shotgun just for the state park youth hunt, or if they ever open it up to an adult, because they have in the past. I mean, I feel like that kind of right there just answers the question to leave this area a shotgun zone. I guess that's one way maybe to look at it. I don't know. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Benson.
Seventeen 389 90th Avenue South, David Heng. I live on the Downer Road. One thing I want to say is, I don't know if you guys remember, about 15, 18 years ago, there was a bullet that went into Grung Church in Rolog and landed in the pulpit. Not in Rolog Church, in the other one. Well, when the guy shot it with a rifle, I'm sure he didn't think it was going to go into a church. So that's one thing I think you got to think about when you want to put this all rifle. I do not hunt, but I got some really good hunting ground, and I let everybody hunt. But I am totally against having a rifle that close to my house where all my cattle are. I can sit in my yard and move over a little bit, and I can see my neighbor 2 miles away, and they're in a tree. There's nothing. And everybody says, well, we can shoot. It's a lot more accurate. Well, that's fine. But what they said, when you get all these people coming from North Dakota, and all they're going to end up being is road hunters. Because if you have a deer that's 3/4 of a mile out of my section, and they're going to stand on the edge of the ditch, and they're going to start shooting. So there's plenty of places when you go east you can go rifle, but I think it needs to be shotgun. I mean, I'm to the point that if it would go rifle, I will post all my land. I will not let anybody in there. They could a bow hunt, but there will be no gun hunting. And I know there's been 15, 20 deer taken out of my 1,000 acres that I farm, because I will not have rifle on my land. It's just too dangerous, I think. That's my personal opinion, so.
Thank you, Mr. Heng. Additional feedback?
My name's Kenny Prigglemeyer, 3383 109th Avenue, North Moorhead. I'm for slug hunting. Maybe I'm the only one here. I hunt in Twin Valley, been there for 30-some years, and I actually got to watch the ramifications. So when they went from rifle to slug, everybody that was in the rifle area didn't hunt in the slug area because it was easier to hunt with rifles. So they came over to our area and took out all the nicer deer, and it didn't take long because DNR, they don't regulate how many people hunt in each unit. So, and I'm a big shed hunter. So if you imagine the year before it opened, I found 39 sheds within a mile. Next year I found 12. Next year I found 2. So for me, it's not really the safety thing. It's about the quality of the deer. It will go down. I promise you that. Because you look at 32, even if you move it to 9, all those guys are all over there, and they're waiting to come over to that public land to rifle hunt. Promise you that. And it'll go down. Quality will go down. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brigelmeyer.
Madam Chair, for clarification, if I can too. So under the current as is, it allows shotguns with slugs, muzzle loaders, and handguns in under the current format, right?
Last year's format.
Last year's format, not what the state's proposed. Yeah, just, so there is the ability to use muzzle loaders and.
And I think his testimony said he would like there to be a shotgun zone, correct? Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Any additional questions or comments, rather? Good evening.
Thank you for having this. I'm Claire Anderson, 23009 28th Avenue North, Hawley. Personally, I don't have that much of a preference because where I hunt, if I can take a shot as far as 100 yards, I like to be in the woods. I don't like sitting out in a corner somewhere waiting for one to run by. I like to be in the woods. If I get a 100-yard shot, that'd be amazing. So I'm not too worried about that. However, I do have 2 questions. Now, you gave us 3 options, correct? Is there a chance to amend that? A person put forward another option, which was straight south of Hawley, correct? So can that be amended? Could that be added? That's one question I hope you will answer. You don't have to answer it now.
Okay.
I'm giving you orders? No, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
And the second one is, how is the decision going to be made? It's going to go, from here it's going to go somewhere, and who's going to decide what that decision is? How is it going to be done?
You have 1:40 left. Would you like to say anything else, and then I can answer your questions?
I'm done. I'm done. I'm good.
Well, thank you for that. The short answer to your first question is that, yes, there is an ability to be creative, to create an ordinance if the testimony that we hear convinces this board that that's something that would make sense. So what was proposed is not set in stone. Just knowing that DNR would prefer us to create some sort of plan, if we create a plan that seems to make simplistic geographic sense. It's kind of ironic that DNR weighed neutral on this. If any of you have worked with DNR in the past, they don't typically weigh neutral on things. So that was your first question. The second question is, who makes the decision? Ultimately, the legislature gave the responsibility to county boards to make decisions that made the most sense for their counties. And so this board will If we decide to make a decision, we need to make a decision by that, is it June or May 5th? So this board will take the testimony and the information that we received during this public comment opportunity hearing, the comments that we received online, and then we will wrestle with what makes the most sense based on what the residents told us. So it's a heavy burden for us, but something that we really wanted to make sure we had as much insight from community residents as possible. And based on some sort of feedback I've had with our administrator, we as a whole board have not had any comments as a full board on this. My understanding is that we will likely take a decision in an upcoming meeting. I have to be at the state capitol to provide testimony on another bill next Tuesday, and so my understanding is a decision will likely happen in 2 weeks. So, does that answer your question? So, as noted, DNR did say that a decision needs to be made by May 5th. And so whatever this board decides to do, understanding that a decision needs to be made by May 5th for this upcoming hunting season, there is, as noted earlier, the opportunity to revisit the issue in later years. Yes, you're welcome. Additional comments? Any additional testimony?
Caleb Ninig, 120 2nd Street South, Saban, Minnesota. I'm in favor of the line at 9 or just all rifle. The one question I did have is if you were to amend it in the future from what you decide now, what would that take? Would it be a public comment or would it just be you guys deciding?
Public hearing.
Would you like to speak?
Yeah,
Commissioner Campbell.
Yeah, it's our understanding to, once we make the decision to change it, it's reviewed in a year, and it would still require a public hearing then to change that.
Okay.
Right? Am I correct, Brian, on that?
Correct. But it wouldn't, so like if the public's not happy with the decision that's made, would it take public input to review that decision? Or is that decision just gonna get reviewed in a year no matter what?
That's a really great question. We're elected by all of you, and I feel like we're quite responsive to the concerns of the community. If we have a number of folks coming up to us, providing comments that maybe there was something we missed during this first process, if we're hearing from the sheriff's department that there's some major gaps or communication with DNR, however that may be, it can be brought back to discuss.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you for your time. Yes. I think you did have a minute left on yours, so I'll.
I'm Tyler again. So the question I got is, we kind of agree on a lot of the same things. You know, rifles can shoot farther, they're more accurate, might bring in more people to the area, different things and whatnot. My question is, so the Minnesota DNR right now and the wildlife manager for the area has given us doe permits and only allowed so much because they feel like the deer population isn't as high as their goals allow. So if we can shoot farther, we're gonna possibly have more people. Yeah, you're gonna have more accuracy, but more deer are gonna be killed. So my thought is why is this even a thing that's even being talked about when they're not even meeting their management goals because they're allowing rifles, which will more than likely increase the harvest, and they're not even getting to the harvest they want now, the way it is. So, thank you.
Thank you for the statement. I might call it a statement. We have the same concern that a lot of decisions are happening in St. Paul that those of us on the western side of the state have substantial concerns about. So I appreciate the comments, and certainly we will communicate to our partners or colleagues in the cities on issues that we see. Additional feedback?
Good evening, Dana Dabbert, 420 Main Avenue, West Barnesville. I'm here to speak one statement, maybe a question. I haven't really figured out how I'm going to word it, but the one thing that nobody's asked in this room is how does this affect Mark Empting and his deputies? To give you a little background is If I'm not mistaken, this was originally an author of the bill was Rob Kupek. It failed, and then he came back as a co-author. And the reason it was left up to the counties was because of two senators in the southern half.
Correct.
In my personal opinion, it shouldn't be a county's burden to bear, because one, for staffing, and two, that's why we have the DNR in place. And as a firearm safety instructor, or one of the major core fundamental of firearm safety is know your target and what is beyond. We teach children as little as 11 years old. We sponsor as an MDHA member. We sponsor the youth hunt at the Buffalo River State Park. I don't know if she left, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, also if that was a concern for the safety, as everybody keeps saying tonight, I believe that decision for the Buffalo River State Park is for a shotgun and rifle is left up to Brian Nelson, if I'm not mistaken. But that'd be a question for him or the DNR. The biggest thing is, and my concern is the impact on the Sheriff's Department. This is why we have the DNR. Is it gonna, during rifle season, shotgun season, deer season, whatever you call it, are they gonna be equipped? Are they gonna be able to handle the calls or concerns, if you will, more so than, and then take away from other calls or concerns that are on a daily basis? Thanks.
Madam Chair?
Thank you for the comment, Mr. Dabbert. Commissioner Campbell?
Yeah, thank you for that question. And it's something that we did talk about, that we had some concern over on how this would impact our Sheriff's Department in terms of policing. And one of the things that we wanted to make sure of within these options that we have, that the policing force would remain as it is today and be the responsibility of the DNR and not this Clay County Sheriff's Department. So I think it's our intention, at least in making any decision, that we want to make sure we have clarity on that issue in terms of the policing of it, because we don't want that to fall on our deputies. That doesn't mean now that the Sheriff's Department might get a call that they have to go out to, and they certainly would respond to that. Right, as it is now. So I think in terms of our early discussions on this, before we went to this, it's a concern we all had as board members. And so I think we hope to address that before decisions made.
Thank
I don't
you
know,
all.
Sheriff, if you want to add anything to that.
I was just going to say, thank you also for pointing that out, and the sheriff can comment afterwards. Part of the reason the sheriff Empton is sitting at the front table is that we have been really deliberate to make sure that he is involved in all of these discussions. He's the chief public safety officer. I'm a county commissioner. That's not my department. It is to make sure that he is equipped with the tools in which he needs to provide safety to the highest level to our residents. And we certainly fall back on some of your perspectives and really do respect what your perspective is on that, and it's important. Mark, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I do appreciate the question from Dana. Just for clarification, when this first came forward, we were told that the DNR would assist if it was either rifle or stayed the same. That's the only way they were going to assist. We were told that if there was a carve-out, that they were not going to assist because we have 87 different counties and they didn't want to try and teach their COs 87 different ordinances. There was a letter that was brought up by a senator that was brought to my attention. I reached out to one of the captains of the DNR to ask him about this letter, and he did clarify that they would assist even if there was a carve-out. The one thing that they wanted is they wanted a defined line, just a defined line, not zigzagging throughout the entire county, just a defined line, and that way they would assist in that manner. And for us, it would be just essentially business as usual with whatever option is chosen.
Thank you, Sheriff. Additional comments from the public? Can we, yeah. You'll have to come up here and just make it brief, Jerry, because I do know there are some people that want to speak.
Yeah, I know several of you were at the Clay County Association of Township Officers meetings. There was a call for a show of hands on whether it was supported or not supported. I believe there was 3 people that supported opening up to rifles. The rest, for the most part, were all against changing the laws at all. And this is basically your rural people. You know, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Buttonhoff. Additional comments?
Good evening. Thank you for, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
It's a little different over here. Bob Vetter, 572, 246th Street South in Hawley. Just 3 quick comments. I guess 4. My son had the time of his life at the Buffalo River hunt. It is pretty close quarters. I believe no matter what happens here, that should stay shotgun. I assume that'll be a logical decision made locally. But to my points, there are more populous areas that are just as flat or flatter than here that are rifle zones. They're perfectly safe. The shotgun zones originally established in the 1940s to manage the deer, the original intent of deer management, why it was established, are no longer. They were less accurate, and with the deer populations rebounding and shotgun technology advancing, the shotgun zone has really become outdated. The DNR can manage the bag limits and how many deer we can take. From what I understand and pulled off the website, from a safety and wildlife management perspective, the DNR does not have concerns about the elimination of a shotgun zone, strictly from a safety perspective. And I concur with that. I'm for moving it to a rifle. And glad to hear if it goes sideways, we review it in a year, and we're back here again and having a good debate. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vetter. Additional comments? Hello?
Good evening. I'm Dalen Gerald. Am I allowed to talk if I'm in Fargo? All right. 4630 33rd Avenue South, Fargo, North Dakota. Horrible at public speaking. Grew up in Clay County my whole life. 24 years, 23 years, up until recent. I'd love to see it stay, or love to see it go to rifle. I don't know. One thing I haven't heard anybody talk about is ammo shortages. Do you guys remember a few years ago when couldn't find slugs? And everybody was going for either 12 gauge, 20 gauge, or 410 or 16. You got 4 options. That's it. Rifles, gosh, I don't even know. There's so many different rifle cartridges you can buy now. But even those were short at the time, but you could find them. But I guess I would like to see it that way, and that's all I got to say for now. So, thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Additional comments? Anyone wishing to address the board? Are there anyone else that would wish to address the board on any item? All right, so if there's nobody else that would wish to talk, we certainly allow you that option if you'd like to. Once we close the public hearing, it will be your last opportunity to go on record about this specifically. So just make sure if there's anything, speak now or forever hold your peace until we reevaluate something if we need to reevaluate something. Okay? Commissioner Campbell?
Madam Chair, and I do want to bring this up, having been around for a while and being an Oakport Township supervisor. Some of you may recall that we had a rod and gun club just north of Moorhead. And that rod and gun club basically was shut down because of safety, because of complaints about even traveling on Highway 75. And I remember there were some cars that might have been hit by stray bullets. So a safety issue is big. I'm not saying that that's going to be going to determine how I vote on this, but if it was enough to shut down a rod and gun club who had a decent berm behind them, I think we do have to take into consideration safety issues in populated areas. So I'm going to certainly have that on my mind when I make up my decision on this. But I do want to thank all of you for coming, and every one of you made a good, reasonable argument for your position. And This goes back to my sewer and water days in Oakport Township. It was like 50-50, and you had to make a difficult decision. And so you pretty much ticked off half of the population based on what you did, so. But anyway, just wanted to bring that up in terms of Rod and Gun Club and their decision to have to move and close that rifle range.
I also want to thank those of you that showed up. I know it can be intimidating to maybe partake in a process in which you're not familiar with, but from the bottom of our hearts, we are truly grateful for all of your perspectives and the ability to have all of you. I know time is precious, and I know it's sometimes not great to attend a long meeting after a work day, so thank you for showing up and offering that insight. Board questions or comments?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
To close the public hearing from Commissioner Bear, a second from Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion?
Make sure all the written comments are in.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Discussion.
Madam Chair, I would suggest that we review the comments made today as well as the written comments and have a more detailed conversation at our meeting, the date 2 weeks from today at our board meeting, to have it as an agenda item, to review the different options and ultimately make a decision in time for the May 5th deadline.
The motion?
I would,
I think we're still in discussion, but.
yeah, I mean, that was just my,
Oh, okay. Well, I certainly concur with that.
Yep.
Does anyone have any additional discussion that they want to have at this point? Well, the date of that meeting would be April 21st. Is that correct? Those members of the public that would wish to observe that, certainly you're welcome to attend meetings. We do have virtual options, so if you would like to watch that way, you can do that as well. Any other discussion?
yeah, Madam Chair, I'd just like to point out that when we decided to have this hearing, we purposely held this hearing in the evening to allow more people to be able to attend. The meeting that we're going to have on the 21st will be a Tuesday morning, a regular scheduled meeting that we will have. You're welcome to come here to listen to the dialogue the board may have, and you're also, as the chair mentioned, would be able to view that virtually or online. But in terms of the public hearing, the record is now closed, so.
Any additional comments? No? All right, well, we do still have some items remaining from our regular scheduled meeting that we had before. All of you are welcome to stay for that if you would like, but just as the room clears out, huge gratitude. This was an amazing, respectful conversation, and I really appreciate that we can sit in rooms and have those discussions, so thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Can we take just a 2-minute break while the room?
Yep.
The meeting back to order. We do have committee reports remaining and administrator update discussions. Commissioner Campbell, you're next on the list.
All right, I have to go back to, I had one meeting before, back on March 17th, and that was a lands meeting with the lands chair and myself as vice chair and staff regarding the diversion authority regarding the need to establish a debris removal and restoration subcommittee that's required under the JPA or the agreement with the people in southern Richland and Richland and Wilkin counties. And so in that establishment, what we determined that there'd be one member recommended by the Moorhead Clay County Joint Powers Authority, one member by the Land Management, one member from the MCC, or the Cass County Joint Water Resource District, and then 3 members from the Land Management. And part of those had to be technical people, and then, so then on the April 2nd, then we did have an MCC-JPA meeting, and one of the topics that we had was to establish who would be the MCC-JPA member that would serve on that committee, and we felt that it would be appropriate for that to be Commissioner Mojo. Most of the things that could potentially happen would fall within her areas down there, so the MCC-JPA did move to recommend or to appoint Commissioner Mojo to that committee, and that's pretty much is a committee that's established when an event occurs in terms of if there's issues regarding cleanup. At that same MCC-JPA meeting, then we did have reimbursement for an access installment, and we had some contracting actions, and then we approved an administrative plating and affidavits for parcel splits in the areas, in the southern embankment area in Clay County, so. And then on this morning, we had a highway tracking committee meeting. Most of the items that we talked about this morning, Justin brought forward today. We also did have a conversation regarding a letter that I had received from Lance Erickson, a resident in North Moorhead, which was the old Oakport Township area, but it's part that's been annexed, and his concerns about incidents that are happening on County Road 1, that's south of Wall Street, that goes down to the old Broadway Bridge. So we reviewed that. We shared that letter with the sheriff, and they're also going to then maybe talk with the Watershed District, because we're not sure if Watershed District still has that property or if it's been turned over to Moorhead. So that'll be an ongoing deal. And then we also had the PIC meeting today regarding the sheriff's issue replacing Gabe. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Campbell. Commissioner Bear?
Thank you, Madam Chair. On March 30th, I had a West Central Regional Water District meeting up in Halstead, where we discussed our upcoming hearing that is April 17th at 1:30 at the courthouse here in Clay County. So a lot of the discussion was around that. We also got some good news for the project itself. We got a 100% grant funded by USDA for a line to run from Climax down to Neilsville. So it'll be 100% paid for through the USDA grant. So that's good news. And then we also got confirmation of an 80% grant for Halstead from Minnesota PFA to bring the line from the river to Halstead. So hopefully, so that's the good news with that. Yeah, so just, everybody's aware, April 17th, we'll be having that final hearing with the judge at 1:30 at the Clay County Courthouse.
Commissioner Karabanov? You're good.
Apologize. Is the USDA, is that something that may continue?
That may continue, maybe not at 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, it may continue.
Okay, thank you.
And then after that meeting, we also toured the Halstead Water Plant and went over to the Hillsborough Water Plant to tour those two facilities. And then on April 2nd, I had the Clay County Intergovernmental Committee, where we had a recap of the IGR, the 2026 IGR. And then we also discussed the purpose of the meeting and the meeting schedule. Maybe I'll let Steve dive into that one a little bit more. And we also talked about topics for the next IGR. So I'll let Steve talk a little bit more on that one. And then the next day I went, oh, hang on. Then that night, no, Wednesday night, I missed a night there, the first, I went to the Moorhead Wellhead Protection plan meeting number 1, where we had discussion of what they plan on doing throughout the update of the wellhead protection plan. So it was just an introduction meeting. So going forward, we're going to meet roughly every other month on going through their plan and redoing their plan. Then on that would be April, what was yesterday? 5th. I had Wild Rice Watershed Citizens Advisory Committee meeting, where we discussed the West Wild Rice County-owned land, the Wild Rice Watershed District lands, and then we also discussed about how you petition into the Wild Rice Water District, and a discussion on that. Is a very, very good discussion at that meeting, and we give a couple recommendations to the group to move forward. Then yesterday, I went down to St. Paul because I testified this morning on a Senate File 4457 bill with Senator Mark Johnson. He's the author of that bill. The bill is for drinking water regionalization planning and assistance with grants. So it would help the West Central Regional Water District get grant money to build that out per se through the towns when they sign up for it. So I was testifying for that this morning at about 10 o'clock this morning. That is all my committee reports, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Bear. Thank you for also going down to St. Paul. It's important to be there to provide our insight, and thank you for being willing to do that.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner.
I'd like to thank Commissioner Bear for doing that, and he must have been pretty persuasive because it did get voted out of that committee, 100% vote to move into the capital investment group for the next set of hearings. So well done for your first time testifying.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I do have a few weeks of meetings, so I'll abbreviate it. On March 17th, I had an AMC Board of Directors meeting to discuss legislative components. On March 19th, I had outreach from Matt Hilgart from AMC to talk about legislative outreach with Senator Johnson and Senator Rasmussen for issues regarding modernization components. That's a priority for a lot of us. On March 25th, I met with the lobbyists on our strategy as we move into the second half of the session. March 26th, I attended the flood mitigation work group with the City of Moorhead, the Buffalo Red Watershed District, and the Chamber of Commerce. Throughout that time, I worked with 2 landowners that have been experienced a event negatively related to the project components on the SE 4 and 5. They did have a June-related loss, so making sure we're working with DA leadership and the Army Corps. I do appreciate that there seems to be some movement now on working with those folks. March 27th, the non-secure juvenile detention PRTF dialogue. I attended the Greater Fargo-Moorhead EDC, as noted by Commissioner Ebinger. On April 1st, I attended the Global Intelligence Update at Minnesota State University Moorhead in regards to the friendship city between Moorhead and Zako, Kurdistan. On April 2nd, I was invited by Senator Kupek to attend a roundtable. Senator Port was supposed to attend, but was unable to due to the upcoming weather. Really good roundtable with other community partners. Quinn from the Social Services Department was there to provide some of our insight. It was not a partisan insight, but it was really how we are responding and what the effects of some of the federal and state decisions are to us locally. I attended the MCC JPA meeting. I do appreciate being appointed to that board. I think it's really important that we have local, obviously I'm not the technical choice, but local representation as we deal with those issues as they come up. April 3rd, I had a follow-up with Fauzia from the Immigrant Development Center, Jihan from the event that we had on April 1st, and then Mayor Carlson from Moorhead. attended the non-secure detention PRTF discussion, and then had a meeting with Commissioner Tony Grinberg from Cass County on items of mutual interest. That afternoon, attended the flood working group as we finalized some of our messaging to our representatives in St. Paul. Had an opportunity to meet with Councilmember White, as noted, about the Chamber and EDC allocation of funds. Yesterday, I attended the MRCC meeting, really important dialogue about where is this session going and what can get done, if anything can get done, so more to be seen on that. Attended the MetroCog Executive Committee meeting, in which we talked about, because of so much of their funds are tied to federal highway, and when they were in a shutdown, it really caused some disruption in what the office was able to do. So talked about letters that went out to each agency about a small amount of money extra from the budget that would be asked to build up a small operating reserve so that payroll can continue. Obviously, when there's shutdowns, projects are paused, and so we get creative about funding, but that was one item of note there. I attended the PIC committee meeting and the highway committee meeting as presented on, and met with our administrator on this evening's hearing. That concludes my reports, and I know I said it earlier, but I am really, really proud that we were able to fill a room and everyone was able to offer their perspective. We were able to offer the opportunity to do online public comments. That's something we've not done before, and I think it was a really great option for folks. That concludes my reports. Steve.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the 24th, I participated in the hazard mitigation meeting, which has been covered by Commissioner Eberger. Met with that afternoon with Darren and Quinn on the performance issue within his department. On the 25th, wrapped up and submitted the congressional spending application for the non-secure detention PRTF to Congresswoman Smith and Klobuchar. Also submitted additional paperwork for the PRTF funding to DHS. The 25th had an annual evaluation with Mr. Amundson. A 25th, we had the county legislative planning meeting, which has been discussed. On the 26th, we had also had a meeting with Troy and discussed some of the outcomes of the 2020 detox budget. I think we'll have more discussion on that in the near future in a positive fashion. On the 26th, participated in the flood mitigation work group, which has been covered, and also met with Darren about the cadet program and some pay grid questions. On the 27th, participated in the non-secure juvenile facility PRTF. On the 30th, participated in the West Central Regional Water District Board meeting, has been covered by Commissioner Baer, Commissioner Campbell. And participated in the Recorder's annual update. Commissioner Eber commented on that. I think that it's important to note that her compliance fund contributes about 0.25% to our levy on an annual basis. And so continuing to provide funding next year for tax system maintenance, remonumentation program, GIS, and also software maintenance on those programs related to land records. On the 30th, we continue with our MPCA settlement. We had a meeting with Clay County personnel led by Patrick Hollister. We heard updates from Forrest Steinhoff and Christy Lashevsky on the purchases at the City of Moorhead and their timelines for their projects. On the 31st, participated or planned for public hearing this evening. Also met with Quinn. I provided an update on the local homeless prevention aid and the partnership between CAP-LP and Moorhead School. On the 31st, I met with a vendor healthcare, or Champion Health, and looking at additional cafeteria possibilities here at the county that are separate, not with our current providers. Wouldn't have any issue with that. The first met with the Strive for Excellence. Again, we're working on tightening up the agenda for the intra-governmental retreat that's going to be held at the Law Enforcement Center on the 24th. The second participated in MCC JPA meeting, the third non-secure detention ledge meeting. Out of that meeting, one of the things that was suggested was to address reach out to our counties who have signed resolutions to kind of make an effort for them to reach out to their legislatures, encourage them to look at the bonding and also potentially sign on to the bills. Worked a lot on that over the last 3 days. Found out that if you put secure in your title of your email, that it encrypts it so nobody can get into it. So spent today resending some of those emails. So that was not so great, but hope to wrap that up tomorrow. Highway tracking and PIC. I did participate in the intergovernmental retreat. One of the items that Commissioner Bear highlighted is there's concern by some of the participants what benefit we're receiving from that program or from that meeting. Right now we meet 6 times a year. We take turns with the city of Moorhead, Dilworth schools, Moorhead schools. And so we take turns taking responsibility, 1 for the meeting organization, and then 2 also for the planning of the IGR. And it was suggested by several of the entities there that they're extremely busy in what they're doing. They're concerned with the amount of time that it takes to organize both the meetings and the intergovernmental retreat. And having said that, they suggested that the county should take over all-time planning and also then planning meetings and then also planning for the IGR. Commissioner Bear and I said that, again, that wasn't something that we would have the authority to say. We would have to bring that to this board for their feedback. I did share, we talked, as we have in the past, to the benefits of the meeting, the intention of the meeting, both for shared discussion, also for our taxpayers and understanding if there's things that we can do internally to not bring things forward on the same year that will impact the overall levies, that to do that. And so, again, that isn't new information that we've talked about that. It's been a steady voice from our commissioners. And so, as we left the meeting, I guess the intent was that they laid it at our feet to continue that. They did suggest potentially cutting any meetings that we do have to an October, November, and then post intergovernmental retreat.
So, Mr. Larson, I think my colleague to my left might have some comments on this, but I might jump into it really quick. Here's my my concern with some of the comments. We are in a time in which we are facing historic pressures in regards to how much the needs of our communities cost, and what a great opportunity to find out how we can partner with our member entities and municipalities, how we can share services, how we can help provide the best possible services to our community at the least amount of cost. And when I'm seeing lots of partnerships throughout the different counties and states falling apart, I think now is the time in which you lean into partnerships to address all of the needs that I mentioned. I've served on that group before because of scheduling. It was tricky, and it's disappointing to me personally to hear some of the feedback, because there is such value in what topics are covered there. It's not a committee that's sole purpose is to plan the intergovernmental retreat. It's to really have critical conversations, and then out of those critical conversations, that's the meat of the retreat, period. And so I was in a meeting with Councilmember White last week, and we were talking about 15th Avenue. And in that comment, she talked about the city of Dilworth, the city of Moorhead, Clay County, the township. And while the township's not at that meeting, what a great opportunity to get into the meat of the concerns that we have a meeting like that. I'm not a person that thinks we should have meetings just to have meetings, but certainly the value of that committee in particularly is pretty high on in my thought as to how we should prioritize. And then the final piece I have, when we years ago went to ask the citizens of our county to support our sales tax for our new law enforcement center and correctional facility, we had had planning committees leading up to that, in which we sat down with our partners and said, okay, here are the needs that the county has that we can't go without addressing. We were facing shutdown from the state. And in that, the school district was talking about the need to go for a referendum for a new high school, and the city of Moorhead was talking about other needs. I know you were with the city, working for the city at that point. And we frameworked the asks that we were gonna be making to our community around each other, so that we weren't overburdening them with what those asks were going to be. And if there can be any perspective offered from just one of the commissioners, I really, really hope that the work of that group can be salvaged. Commissioner Campbell?
Yeah, I'd like to, I don't age myself anymore, but this is actually my 35th year of being involved with the Intergovernmental Committee. I spent 11 years on there as a member of the Oakport Township Board, and now my 24th year here. And over all those years, there's been an awful lot of collaboration amongst all the government entities. And I don't think that something should be done just because it's been in existence. I think it's been in existence for 50-some years. But I agree with Commissioner Mojo. If we have a couple of entities that don't see value in it, then maybe this board does need to relook at how we want to have that and what our, redefine what our goals would be. I think it's very important that we continue it. And maybe, Madam Chair, just to speed this up, this might be something that you might want to include in a ad hoc or
Work session?
Got it.
to further evaluate this and maybe come up with some recommendations how it can be done. And finally, I do want to add into this that many years ago, when this was occurred, the chamber actually hosted the intergovernmental retreat on our behalf, and it really brought county government and business together to have some discussions. And when I start seeing businesses maybe leaving our county right now and all that type of thing, maybe this can be an avenue that we can go back to some of that discussion and maybe include some people in some of these that we haven't done in a while. So I think that's worthy of some discussions moving forward, and I'll leave it up to the board chair to determine how to have that meeting. So.
Any further comments on that committee particularly? I know that's part of your update, but certainly, as mentioned, you can't speak for the entire board at that committee, but I do know that you have 1 or 2 meetings left before the summer break, and so maybe just an opportunity to provide that insight. I do agree we should have this as part of a work group.
Yeah,
And I would note, Councilmember White was very, very supportive in continuing, and also was very concerned with just having the county be the sole host of any continued meetings.
I will say there is a substantial amount of planning, and Sarah does a lot of the work on that when Clay County hosts. And so I think it's on each entity to make sure that they're encouraging participation throughout their organizations. We have made sure that because we want our department heads to be responsive to the needs in the county, we've had a lot of department heads that take part in that. And so the optics may seem that it's really Clay County heavy, but I think that's how we serve our residents in the best possible way. Yes, Commissioner Kavanaugh?
Just very quick, I just have to say, I think it would be a huge loss not to have it. The 3 years I was active with it, I mean, that's where you heard the current issues for that year that we were talking about into the fall, that's set up for the meeting to bring our legislators in so we could cover for each other, to elevate each other, and it'd be a loss. It'd be a big loss.
That concludes my report.
Mr. Melton? Sarah? I do have Commissioner Campbell.
I had one other meeting that I forgot to talk about, and that was between the Chamber and the Diversion Authority and the diversion funding discussions that we had on April 3rd. That, I just want to make sure I got that on the record.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, seeing as we have no further business, we've discussed a lot. Our next board meeting will be April 14th at 8:30. We are adjourned.